Unleash the racer in you and feel the thrill of racing all out on the open road.
The wait is finally over. Hello, good evening, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is David Christie, and this handsome person to the left-hand side of me is none other than Chris Buxton. A warm welcome to the GT Omega Challenger Cup. It is going to be a fantastic series of events that we've got here for you, taking place on the Assetto Corsa Competizione platform. Chris, I'm excited for tonight, and then I remembered it's Monza. That just hyped things up even more.
Doesn't it just? It takes the excitement factor that little bit higher. The Cathedral of Speed, the Tifosi Temple, call it what you will. But wow, I love this circuit. I love commentating about it. And we have got such an amazing lineup of drivers to shout about. What could top this?
Oh, exactly. Especially given many other events happening tonight, and we have got some proper crown jewels in terms of ACC talent with us tonight. Looking at the entry list, and we have got some big names out there. We've got Volante Racing out there. Jardier Community is going to be with us tonight. BS+COMPETITION, as well as the likes of I'm seeing Jazz Heat. That is probably one of the ones that stands out for me tonight, Chris. George Boothby and Luke Whitehead. I've seen them many times on many other different ACC championships and competitions. And yeah, as I said, some very big names out there tonight.
Yeah, I'm keeping an eye on the BS Plus competition pair, the number 89 Angus Fender and Ryan Barnveld. Ryan in particular is just obscenely fast. But there's a number of kind of outside efforts. We can't, of course, forget our wonderful hosts, our team Shazoo, Chris Wachowski and Sam Chomley. You can never discount them at all. But also the Rag Nation, I see. The Rag Nation master himself, Ben McConnell. I've seen him run that McLaren, or seen run in a McLaren. Are they running the McLaren this time? They are. They've stuck with the McLaren. So, yeah, that's definitely one to watch out for. But like we've always seen, we've got our favourites, our ones that we think are going to do very well. And things could easily turn in the heat of the moment or in the heat of turn one, lap one.
And that's exactly it. So the schedule tonight, then, we are just moments away from going into a 15-minute qualifying session, and then we have a 90-minute race at Monza. Anybody who's been on ACC knows what turn one is like, and you know why I'm smiling like this, because every time we joke about it, because obviously public lobby racing, it's a bit of a nightmare, Chris, going into that turn one. And these top of the notch pro sim racers, they leave me feeling a little bit disappointed, because there's usually, and I'm going to touch the desk here, usually nice and quiet in that first lap. Nothing that we normally see in public racing.
Public racing can be a somewhat chaotic. It is certainly true, but yeah, that doesn't mean that the racing is going to be any more diluted. It's going to be an absolutely fantastic slog, and like you said earlier, David, with some incredible heavy hitters out there representing the various teams. I think we're in for a really, really close fight. A lot of McLarens. The McLaren's still a bit of a favoured car, which is good to see. A few M4s. Recently introduced, so good to see that as well. A few Porsches, one Audi, one Bentley in tonight's field, and one Ferrari as well. I've just realised the Kamikaze team, which hopefully they don't live up to that name, with all due respect, out there in the sole Italian stallion. But the McLaren's still very heavily favoured. I'm a little bit partial to the Bentley, if I'm honest. But all these cars will look fantastic. They sound wonderful, and I can't wait to get underway.
We're not going to have too long to wait to head down to the grid. Just on the note of the cars there, interesting to see out of the brand new Challengers pack as well. Only the one Audi R8 LMS Evo 2, and that is the number 112 Leipert esports machine. So again, very surprised to see them in the Audi. I'll be interested to see that. Now, from my experience, I've only had, I think, 2 races where I've commentated on the new cars from that new pack. Audi looks to be a lot more calm. It was well known for being a almost schizophrenic car. You'd be driving along fine, Chris, and then suddenly, for no warning whatsoever, after about 20 laps, it would just decide to put you into the nearest available barrier. And thankfully, it looks like that crazy snap oversteer has been ushered out of its traits. But Monza going to be the first track on the calendar here tonight, and we have to take a moment to say a huge thank you to our commercial partners, as always, for making nights like this possible, is the word that I'm looking for. Moza Racing, obviously, who are a big partner in providing the prizes for the championship, as well as Simracing.GP, providing the infrastructure that makes nights like this happen. And a little known company called GTWR. They're just some guys who have decided to tag along, really, Chris. And yeah, we're really happy to support little businesses like them, aren't we?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's great when we see new companies, embracing sim racing and seeing, trying their hand at it and seeing what they can do. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we couldn't do it without them. But we very much appreciate the support they give to series like this. And like we said, we've got a series of races to talk about through the next few weeks. And we kick off at one of the fastest of the bunch, of course, being Monza, a track that is very horsepower dependent. If you've set your car up to be grippy, you're not in for a good day. So anyone that can get the best corner exits are going to be the one that are definitely going to be one to watch.
And just very quickly going back to that whole GTA Mega thing, the only reason I can joke about stuff like that is because I can't show you because I've got camera blur on, but just over there, I actually have a little GTA Mega rig. Now, it is an older version, it's like many years old, but again, I guess that's testament to the longevity of the products there, but huge fan of their stuff there. Right, yeah, back to Monza then. It is straight line speed. That is the order of the day, and toe is going to be so important. Tyre wear as well, Chris. After that 1.8 update, tyre management is such a crucial thing on this platform, on this sim. You have to get your tyres warmed up gently, and you have to bring them up to speed very slowly, because otherwise you take about 3, 4, 5 laps out of the life of the tyres. Given that we're going to have pit stops in here, do you think strategy is going to be a big factor tonight?
100%. Again, exactly as you've said, David, the toe is going to be the biggest, or one of the biggest factors that teams are going to really try to incorporate into their strategy. If they can use that toe to keep their tyre wear that little bit lower, their fuel usage a little bit lower, that's what's really going to benefit them. The poor guy at the front is going to be trying to break away, and I bet we're going to see a lot of people just queuing up behind. That doesn't mean we're not going to see lots of scrapping for position. Absolutely not. And if anybody gets even a sniff of 0.5% of a possibility of an overtake, they're going to take it. So we'll very much look forward to that. But yeah, strategy is going to definitely play a role in tonight's race.
Certainly is. The time at 7 o'clock. That means qualifying is just underway. We will jump over to the session as soon as we possibly can. Just have a look through the entry list then for tonight and for the championship itself. Big names that jump out at me. We mentioned Jazz Heat, Yardia Community as well with Max Voitner and Krzysztof Maskowski as we go over to trackside then. Free practice just ending. And you can see, again, not a lot that you can take from early times, but George Boothby, Yaz Heat, with Luke Whitehead in the McLarens at the top there. But that worries me. That's a Macca top 5 there. Riley in the number 14 Volante the Volante Racing McLaren. Then you've got the number 200 there, Butterfly Effect Esport, down there in second. Down there into fourth now because they've just been knocked down, and that's Geert Fisher and Jonathan Seville. So Angus Fender kind of putting paid to that by getting the BMW up there in third place. Again, only free practice, so there's very limited information that we can take from those times, but that's scary stuff for the McLarens.
Yeah, but like you say, this is just free practice. So this is just people trying out, maybe ironing out those last little niggles of the setup, trying something maybe a little bit different, or maybe even practicing the slipstream because we didn't see what they've been up to. They may have been playing golf for all we know. Free practice times, there's not really going to be much to look into considering how many people didn't set a time. So when the quali starts, that's when all the sandbags are thrown out and when really the true pace starts to come out.
Yeah, it certainly is. So let's have a look here as we look on the back then of Harley Smith for Team Kamikaze. They're teamed up with Simon Kozlowski, and they're just making their way out of that first chicane. Again, a beautiful, beautiful track this. Very simple in how it's laid out, but so difficult to actually get proper speed out of this. So this is going to be on the way down to down into second variante then, the second chicane, and then it is up through the gears again into the right-handers, the Lesmo corners. And this is going to be a very leisurely pace with this session finished. And then as soon as this car is done and dusted for Harley Smith, that will be us moving on to qualifying, as we see Menno Nielsen here for Consistent Racing Esports, teamed up with Daniel Monaf tonight. And again, that car taken back to the pit lane there. So we're ready to go into qualifying. Chris, from your experience with Assetto Corsa, having a look at some of these drivers, some of these teams, who do you fancy in qualifying tonight?
Oh, that's going to be an interesting one. I'm not favouring the Porsches. I don't reckon they're going to be quite naturally suited to Monza. I would love to be proved wrong, but I just don't think the Porsches are going to be quite able to overcome the McLarens. I think we may well see a McLaren BMW fight up top. Again, the Ferrari may well put in a surprise appearance towards the top of the tree. As far as who specifically, that's going to be a tricky one. It's going to be really hard to look away from the 75 and 89 cars, Yas Heat and BS+COMPETITION. They're the ones I'm looking forward to, but the likes of the R&E team, the Jardier team, there's so many good teams out there. Of course, Shazoo. I love consistent racing. That made me smile because something I always talk about is consistency is king. I hope they are consistent and they may well score well. I reckon it is going to be. I'm going to put my neck on the line here. I'm going to say it's the 89 car on the top spot.
Oh, okay. So BS+COMPETITION, Angus Fender and Ryan Barneveld. Well, you've committed very, very early. So we'll see how that one works out. I think you're actually on the money there. That BMW is mighty fast. The M4 GT3, very, very fast pairing, and of course that is the BMW team outfit of BS+COMPETITION. So the work and the behind the scenes support they get, Chris, is second to none. And again, it's something we talk about almost ad nauseum through these championships and these different competitions. But it's like, me and you, we're not exactly spring chickens anymore, Chris. And we look at sim racing. We've been in the industry for many years, and we look at events like this GT Omega Challenger Cup, and it's just incredible to see where we are as a community, where we've kind of all dragged things along. It's been many a day since some of the older ones of you all have been on the likes of Jeff Crammon's Grand Prix or Lift for Speed or whatever. Maybe you've played console games and you've just started to dip your toe into some of the more serious stuff like Assetto Corsa and Assetto Corsa Competizione. It's just a wonderful time to be involved in the entire sim racing ecosphere. But we'll come back to that in a minute because we've got loads and loads of activity over on the Twitch channel. A very good evening to Paul Clare and to who else we got? Midwest Viking. They're busy singing the praises of GT Omega right now. So they've obviously bought some of the products there, and we're very, very happy that you are enjoying them as well. VSR Jam as well. Out there. So yeah, a very good evening to you guys that are out watching us, and as well to Brian, who's the poor sod on Twitch chat, having to, or at least one of the GT Omega guys, having to moderate the chat. The one thing I do like about Twitch chat, if I'm being honest, lately compared to YouTube, Chris, is the lack of chatbots. That's quite refreshing that we're not getting spammed with that every 3 seconds.
Yahoo, crikey, you are showing your age.
I know, right? I've got no idea where that come from, right? That's just completely dobbed me in as to how old I actually am. Right, 12 minutes out of qualifying as I desperately try and distract the conversation away from that. On the back then of Angus Fender for BS+ competition. I'm going to look down the back straight then. This is on the run up. And that is on the run up to Variante Ascari, and I'm just quickly trying to Brian is rather cheekily reminded us of the fact that every magazine that you used to get had an AOL CD on the back of it as well.
Yep. Yes, it did. And
I'm even older than that. Do you remember CompuServe? Yeah, there we go.
I do.
Yeah,
CompuServe was my very first ISP, so it's funny you mentioned them.
Do you realise not one of these guys in the server will even have?
No, what I'm talking about. No, very, very true. Right, before we continue that train of thought, we have a qualifying session to talk about. Yeah, we've got the 199 car, so that is the second of the Volante Racing squads. Up at the top of the tree is Lucas Sidor that has brought that one over briefly at the top of the tree before the number 14. That's the first of the Volante squads has brought the McLaren over. That is Jonathan Riley that has taken the top of the tree for now. The 200 car, that is the Butterfly Effect Esport team that is piloted at the moment by, that's Gert Fischer in second, just shy of 2/10 behind. Then we've got the 116 Porsche. That's the Jardier community represented Porsche in fourth, 4/10 behind. Then just 100th behind them is, and I'm going to say this now, I'm putting a disclaimer in, I'm going to get this name wrong at some point. I will say Verstappen. I've said it. You've been warned. So it is Christoph Verstappen that is in the 991 Bentley. Just 100ths behind Wagner in the Porsche, and then only 200ths behind them is the 99 BMW, the Lutz Motorsport squad, that is in the hands currently of Felix Diepers. Again, just 200 behind. I thought it was going to be very, very close, and even at this early stage of qualifying, it's proving to be so.
Yeah, it certainly is. I'm going to share you a pro tip with you with that P2 SimSport name. I always think of the throat sweets when I think of Christoph Verstappen. I always think of Strepsils. Helps me just not say that other name, which it totally isn't. But either way, the other thing we've got to point out tonight as well, with the level of quality of these drivers, and again, a lot of these drivers, both myself and Chris, have seen in various other championships, so we know how damn fast they are. Do not be surprised to see the entire field split by about maybe 9/10 of a second. But look at that, George Boothby for Yaz. He's straight up to the top there, 147.635, taking that top spot away from the Volante Racing #1 outfit of Jonathan Riley just now. And this is the important time of the qualifying session. So from experience, what tends to happen with, say, a 15-minute qualifying phase is that the first 8 minutes are what's called, our drivers putting in what's called a banker lap. That is, that's maybe 90% of what the driver can do, but they want to get a fast-ish time up there on the board, so they know if it all goes wrong, if it all goes horribly, horribly wrong, they're not going to be starting from like the back of the grid, although that could happen given the pace of some of these drivers. Then over the next 5 minutes, you'll see them doing a couple of setup changes. They'll come back out with about 6 minutes or 5 minutes left to go, and that's when they're going to start hammering away. Some of them might even come out now, but usually they give it a couple of minutes of a rest, and then they fire the cars back out on their warm-up lap, and that's when you see the real scary lap times coming in. At the moment we're on a 1:47. Don't be surprised if we see around about a 1:47.2, maybe even into the 1:46s, depending. I think the track temperature might be a little bit too high to get into the 1:46s just now, but we'll certainly keep our eyes on that. But as we said, 10 cars split by 1.1 seconds, and excluding the number 17, as we've got another change there. That is Angus Fender. Well, there you go, Chris, right up into second place, and that is a shot across the bow for the BMW if ever you wanted it. So that is a 1:47.7, and yeah, that's a decent lap time.
Yeah, well, those are the two teams we highlighted, and they're currently 1-2 at the top of the tree, but only 5 thousandths. Oh, no, beg your pardon. No, that's the Butterfly Effect squad has just jumped, literally as I was saying the sentence, they just jumped up into second by 5 thousandths of a second. It's still advantage Yaz Heat, and you know, they are such an incredible pairing. That is Boothby and Whitehead. Yeah, of course, the advantage does still stick with them, and I would think that the BS Plus squad are probably the most, judging on previous reputation at least, they're probably the ones that are most likely to give the biggest challenge to the Yaz Heat pair. But in saying that, right now I'm kind of defying my own logic, because Gerhard Fischer of the Butterfly squad has put that in second position. We will see. Being fast over one lap is one thing, but being a fast over the race is quite another. But yeah, you're absolutely right in how you've broken the qualifying session down. We'll see a flurry of laps, initially some finer tweaks, and then what I call the banzai phase, which is the last few minutes of qualifying is when it all then goes, everything is just put onto the line, and we'll see who comes out on top.
Yeah, we certainly will. Currently watching Jiří Valek here for the Riser Esports team just now, sharing that car with Wojtek Dvorak, and at the moment down in 15th position. And again, that sounds, 15th position, that's not very good out of 16 cars, but then you think that's like 1.5 seconds. I'm telling you right now, if I was to qualify in this group, I would be at least 3.5 seconds off of the pace. Such is the tight-knit nature of this. The other thing as well is, what I love about this type of qualifying session, Chris, is if you can get just half a second, right? And that's fairly achievable, I would say, across the board. Half a second would get Jiří Valek here up into the top 10. That is how close things are right now. And there we go, up to 12th position. That's a 0.4 of a second gain. And that now means that we've got 11 cars separated by exactly a second. This is now where it's going to get fast, frantic, and really, really difficult for us to call, because the times are going to come in very, very thick and fast here, Chris. 5 minutes left to go in qualifying. As you said, Gerhard Fischer for Butterfly Effect Esports up into that second place there, ahead of Angus Fender in the 89 Yaz Heat machine with, the 89 BS Plus competition, excuse me, because the 75 is actually up in pole position, Yaz Heat, and what we're being led to believe from my Twitch chat there is that is actually a joint effort between Yaz Heat and GTWR, so a huge thank you to Histrally for pointing that one out, if that is the case there. So just shows how seriously a lot of these teams are taking this championship.
Absolutely. Let's ride on board then with the number 89 car. Angus Fender takes us into the first chicane, just bounces a little bit heavily on that first apex, the tail getting slightly misbehaving by the look of that on the exit of the Prima Variante, used to be called the Rettifilio, now into the Curva, what used to be called Curva Grande, and I'm still going to call it Curva Grande because Curva Biasono is the official name for it, but I've always called it Curva Grande. Now the second chicane, just ride that first apex, keep the car nice and steady. Those apexes are fairly low unless you cut them a little bit too hard. Big sausage curb on the inside line, don't want to be hitting those. Now it's the Lesmos, banked So slightly banked is the first one. We run that little bit wide on the exit to maximize your exit speed. A bit more of a banking on the second one. And again, you running a little bit onto the grass, but still pressing on nonetheless. Now, screaming on down through the curva del Saraglio, which is that fairly non-existent left-hander there under the bridge, and heading towards the Variante Ascari. You want to be hitting the brakes around about 100 meters down into third, ride as much as the curb as you dare on the way in, hug that inside line to maximize your exit speed on that last apex, which he does with expertise. Runs as much as he dares on the exit to again maximize his exit speed all the way down to Parabolica. Then 50 meters, turns in, gets the braking down. Down to third gear, and then just lets the car wander as much as he dares. Now, is this an improvement? 1.5 tenths to fine. Now, bearing in mind that the average person takes a tenth of a second to blink. That's what the
Wow!
and it's a pole time is a 1:47.615, 200ths of a second separating him and the 75 machine at the moment. There is Ben McConnell crossing the line for the R&E team. I don't think he improves from his, and we're switching around a bit. No, there was an improvement for the 199 car. That's the second of the Volante Racing cars. Seedorf's gone up into 5th position, but wow, so close up top.
What a time there from Angus Fender for BS+ Competition, getting that pole position, and 2 minutes still to go, so it's still not over yet. George Boothby and the number 75 team of Yas Heat GTWR knocked down to that second place there. 2/100ths of a second. Hang on a minute, Chris. That was your pick, wasn't it? Before you said the BMW was going to be on pole position.
I did, but still time to go though, as the man that is going to that has the best opportunity to challenge for the top spot. I mean, strictly speaking, they all have an opportunity to challenge for the pole spot. I mean, no disrespect to anybody out there, but I think with the level of talent we got, I think it's fair to say we know who our expected pole sitters are going to be, and this is certainly one of them. George Boothby in the Yas Heat car coming into Curva Grande now is going to be throwing everything he can at this particular lap. And of course, Angus Fender may well have gone on to try and cool everything down. As long as he's got enough fuel, he could go for another lap. They're riding on board with the McLaren. We've been treated to a lap by the BMW, and now we get to ride on board with the wonderful Macca. I may well love the Bentley, but this is actually my favorite of the GT3 lineup. Into the second Lesmo then. Just wanders a bit too wide. Oh, and that could be the end of it. There was a lot of grass there on the exit of the second Lesmo, and if he wants to beat the flag, he's going to have to really motor. I'm not convinced he's actually going to beat the flag. I confess I didn't look at how much time was left when he crossed the line, but that may well be it for George Boothby.
He won't cross that. I think he was about 5 seconds after the line. Certainly, as he goes across there, he's still going to go across. So let's see what happens here. He's coming down the back straight. You'd think if he'd invalidated the lap, though, that it would be done and dusted. Maybe he wasn't keeping an eye on the clock, though. Maybe he's just hoping that he can get going. He's going to have 10 seconds coming out the Parabolica then and coming to it. I don't think he's going to get across the line. He's got 5 seconds left to go. It's going to be super, super close if he can do it. No, I don't think he's going to. No, I don't think he did it. Did he? He's got to cross the line anyway.
He's pole. Yes, he managed to get the pole back by 200ths of a second.
And he's still going. This lap still counts for him. Because the checkered flag, he would have the checkered flag against his name if that was it. So George Boothby takes pole position by exactly the same margin, by 2/100ths of a second. That was how much Angus Fender was over George Boothby. George Boothby returns the favour. That's incredible. And Fender is still on a lap as well. Fender's just coming out of Ascari just now, so he's onto the back straight as well. So what can Fender do? Because this is it. Has he decided to cool those brakes down, cool those tyres down, or is he still on a lap? I think he is. He's coming around Parabolica, then here we go, and this is it. This is going to be the last gasp, you would think, but remember, as I said, Boothby is still on a lap as well. Is he going to go for it? He is. So here we go. Angus Fender, 2/100ths of a second. Can he go across? He goes across the line. It's not an improvement. Last lap there was a 1:47.9. George Boothby in pole position. Wow there, Chris.
What a great effort. Again, it just goes to show how close it is at the top of the field. Exactly what we said at the beginning. Okay, I didn't get the pole poll call right, but we both called who the top 2 teams were gonna be. So yeah, 1 score to you there, Mr. Christie. Bravo. But yeah, oh, what a fantastic effort from all drivers, actually, top to bottom. They all really put everything out there. We're on for a great show.
We certainly are very much looking forward to it. If you have just joined us, a very warm welcome, good evening, and here we go with the GT Omega Challengers Cup. I'm Dave Christie, and that beautiful man beside me is Chris Buxton. I only give him the compliments so he doesn't rip into me, honest. But there we go. So qualifying done and dusted. Again, a huge qualifying session. Going to be so important, that run down to turn 1, Chris, to see what happens there. 2 incredibly fast cars, but a fast field. Again, what we maybe overlooked is you've got 10 cars within 1 second.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely crucial when the red mist doth descend. It's going to be so difficult to keep all the horses and all the adrenaline under control. We've all been there. We've all screamed into turn 1. I know I've played skittles with everything and gotten us braking wrong and skidded over the grass at Rettifilo and not been a very popular man for doing so. But these are the guys that are at the very pinnacle end of ACC racing. These are some of the best GT3 racers out there. So that doesn't make them immune to a mistake, I grant you that. But it does make those kind of mistakes a little bit less likely. However, we do let's face it, we do all like a bit of a prang and a bud and a nudge here and there. I've been so looking forward to this, and we are very nearly ready to get underway.
We certainly are. The cars lined up 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 on the grid here at Monza. Remember, it's a 90-minute team race. They will have to swap over for the drivers. And given that it is a 2-driver race, seeing that McLaren on pole, that McLaren is possibly the best word to use for it. Yazhi GTWR joint outfit there. And what a team that is, of course. George Boothby and Luke Whitehead, both of them very intimidating drivers. Next to them on the second position is going to be that number 89 BMW BS+ Competition. That's the BMW M4 GT3 of Angus, Fender and Ryan Barneveld. Then you've got the number 200 Butterfly Effect eSport machine, and that is Gert Fischer and Jonathan Seville. Then on the fourth position is the number 14 Volante Racing number 1 machine, and that is Jonathan Riley and Grantas Caracas. So we get ready to get going. Row 3 is going to be Cedar and Deeper, so that's the 199 Volante E-Racing Esports 2 machine, and then it is Felix Deepers in the second of the BMWs in the 99. That is the Lutz Motorsports number 99. Then it is on row 4, it is the number 404 of Team Shazoo, and then the 116 Porsche of Jardier Community. The 991 is on row 5 in 9th position, and that is P2 Simsport. They line up alongside Brian McConnell in the 125 RNE Team Red outfit. And then you've got on row 6 is the number 72 of Rev Sport International alongside the number 70 of Riser Esports. And then on row 7 is the 23 of Cause Esports lining up, and 14th position is going to be the 38 of TJ Porker Racing. Chris, I know that name is one of your favourites on the team list tonight.
Yes, indeed, yes.
And then at the back of the grid on row 8, but by no means anywhere near out of contention, is the number 26 Team Kamikaze Ferrari alongside the 17 McLaren of Consistent Racing Esports. I tell you what, they're going to have to do a little bit of a job if they are going to be consistent and not consistently be at the back of the grid. 90 minutes though, qualifying done, dusted, you can forget about it. And as you pointed out, Chris, it's all very well being fast on a 1-lap dash, but it's all about how you can handle yourself for these 90 minutes.
Absolutely, and it's also avoiding making your own mistakes, but equally avoiding the mistakes of others. We've all seen it, we've all been there as well, where you're minding your own business and doing your own thing, but you're taken out by someone else's issues. So even over a 90-minute race, these guys are used to doing longer than that. But so this will feel like very much a sprint race, especially as there is a mandatory pit stop involved. for those slightly unsure, on the tower you can see the orange number 1 next to the car number. That means they have one mandatory pit stop that they must serve. When that has turned green, that means they have served it. So that is what that is indicating. So everybody has got to change driver. No one can do the entire 1.5 hours themselves. They are physically able to do it, but they will be penalized if they do. So they have to bring in their second driver at some point in the race. When they choose to do it is entirely up to them. You're generally going to expect most people to do 45 minutes and then swap over for the other 45 minutes. Some people may opt to have their maybe slightly slower driver in to start with and short stint them and give the more track space essentially to the faster driver, or other way around. You may choose to have your more experienced Stig runner, so to speak, in to start with when the pack is very, very condensed, and have to hopefully give a bit of an easier run to your less experienced or slightly slower driver on the next way up. But the 2x2 row is now being reformed as is standard. So a rolling start. The 2x2 line is being formed. You shouldn't really be warming your tyres in the 2x2 line, sir. At the back, that is, I think that's the number 38 Porsche. They're slightly misbehaving themselves. Either way, they haven't hit anybody, so they'll get away with that. But we are about to get this race underway.
Here we go then, and Chris Buxton sound like a stern, disappointed dad at the weaving at the back of the ground, but we'll come back to that later on. George Boothby leads the cars round Parabolica then for the first time of asking. Angus Fender waiting, poised, ready to go as we go live for the round 1 of the GT Omega Challenger Cup here live on Twitch. Hold your breath, ladies and gentlemen, because this is going to get spicy for the next 90 minutes plus. George Boothby in the lead for Yaz Heat then, and we get go. The green flag flies, and it's an even start, but look at the grunt from the BMW. The BMW pulls up alongside, and surely it's going to have the run down into turn 1. Their nose in front, and here we go. The BMW likely already gets going. Oh, there's a bit of contact there from the McLaren as it tries to get braking into turn 1, and we get through fairly clean. That was a nice move by the BMW. Angus Fender into the lead already by turn 1, and we have 16 cars that have survived that opening turn.
A drive-through for car number 26, unfortunately. That is the Team Kamikaze Ferrari. A little bit too keen off the line. But look at this. We've got a great battle going on. That is for third at the moment. Oh, my goodness. That's someone that's had a big lag moment. That's why they've gone through the field as opposed to catapulting them out. So that was a bit bizarre. But, yeah, they'll hopefully be able to recover themselves before too long. But, yeah, what a start by Angus Fender in the BMW. Just nailed it perfectly. BMW just has that slight bit more advantage in acceleration. The McLaren does have a little bit more in cornering efficiency. So we'll see how well that translates throughout the entirety of the race. But Boothby is a terrifying person to try and shake off your tail at the best of times. So we've got a long race ahead and very much looking forward to getting this underway. Yeah, great shame for the Kamikaze Ferrari. And there you go. You can now see who has had trouble. It is the number 99 BMW. That's now falling through the field as we come over the timeline. That's the Lutz Motorsports car. Felix Diepers is the one that's had early trouble. So not everybody has survived. And there he is now down into 14th position. Couple of cars behind him. The 991 Bentley, the P2 Simsport squad, Verstappen, and the 72. That is the Rev Sport International BMW have also had trouble before them. But as for the rest, so far so good.
Oh my goodness me, what a start to the race. Firstly, we have to take a second and I need to talk to Twitch chat directly. Are you okay? Do you need defibrillators at all after that one? Because I know a lot of you just lost your minds watching that car having a connection issue and look like it was a way to play Wii bowling with half the field there. Thankfully, it was just a figment of our imagination. What is not a figment of our imagination, though, is George Boothby right on the tail of Angus Fender, already a lap in. And look at the McLaren, it's pushing, it's prodding, it's poking, it's trying to see if there's a way down into the second chicane. That BMW is going to try and make itself as wide as it possibly can, and that is brilliant. stuff, because that is bringing in the number 14 Volante Racing #1 machine, and that is Grantas Caracas here. As we've got contact further back, that's Jonathan Seville trying to fight out the other McLaren there of the 199 of Volante Racing #2's Lucas Seidor. Lucas Seidor there gets the move done, and that is Voitna up there as well, isn't it? That's Max Voitna in the yellow Porsche just leading this group here. So here comes the McLaren of Jonathan Seville. It's going to be side by side, and that's a little bit naughty from Voitna there. That's pushing him onto the grass there. Finally gets him some racing room, and it's going to be last the late breakers up into Ascari, and the McLaren a little bit wide there, but he gets away with it. That is done and dusted, and that is a nice position change.
Well played, Johnny Seville there. He got that one right. Yeah, me of little faith with the Porsche. I said the Porsche wouldn't be strong here. And the Jardier community just basically said, yeah, hold on to this. Yeah, great effort there. Was a little bit robust in the defense there. Cutting back up to the front. Yeah, Angus Fender really getting the BMW very much in its stride, but that McLaren is very, very hot on his heels. And number 14, the lead of the Volante squad, is actually giving the 75 Yaz Heat car a bit of something to worry about. Look at that, the top three all in that same camera shot, and they are, well, they're a good couple of seconds ahead of the field at the moment. That's because everybody else is fighting away quite merrily. You can see the number 72 car has been into the pits. That was for damage. They have not changed car. We have lost one from the race, literally, as I was just mentioning them. I'll figure out who it is we've lost in a second. But yeah, that's a shame. You know, you practice and practice and practice, only to have trouble before you very early on. Fastest lap already has gone to the 14 car, and that's the one on the back of the Yaz Heat. So, yeah, great effort there from the Volante squad to keep the Yaz Heat boys in check. But, yeah, anything can happen. As we saw, somebody pretended to play bowling with us. How dare you? I have a weak heart. Don't do things like that to me. But look at that BMW again. It can put no foot wrong here. Look, here we go. Yeah, great battle here. Still going on for fourth. Seville in the 200 McLaren, fending off the advances of the 116 Porsche of Voitna. Great effort there, the Porsche. I just think Porsche's not going to quite be able to overcome the McLaren here. At other places, it's going to be very, very strong. I think Kyle Army, actually, next week, the Porsche is going to really show its worth. But here, I just don't think it's going to quite show its real value at a track like Monza.
I'm not sure. Porsche's is a little bit of a different one, and I'll explain why. That's a second and a half up from Max Voitna. That was never going to happen there, but he tried to find it late on the brakes. And the Porsche, since when it was brought in, I think that it needs a couple more laps than some of the other cars to get its tyres up to speed, because for the first 5 laps, it looks like it feels like it's really slow, sluggish, and going backwards. And then suddenly, from nowhere, it just gets this burst of pace, and then it can start on keeping on top with the cars in front of it. Remember, Voitna now and Jonathan Seville, they're about 5 seconds behind that podium battle. If that Porsche can get cleared, and I think he could, then he might be able to chase down. The other thing that was a way to point out is Boothby on that last lap there went way too deep into turn 1, trying to chase down Fender, and that almost left the number 14 Volante Racing of Grantas Caracas a chance to get going through. So we'll keep an eye on that one. But Fender in that BMW for BS+ competition is actually dropping second and third place very slightly now, because I think Boothby has got more of a concern with Caracas behind him than he does with Fender up in front. And this is going to be a chance here as they come down this back straight towards Ascari for the 4th time of asking. I think this BMW is in a very, very good position here. As long as it can concentrate, as long as it can keep going here, I think Caracas actually might be able to get the toe here. And look, Caracas actually setting fastest lap, that last lap round.
Yeah, he had that from the lap before as well. This is one of the greatest drone pilots I've ever seen. Excellent stuff. But yeah, that BMW is just edging away very, very slightly from the 75 McLaren at the moment. But we will see. What we don't know is who is going to go long, who's a slightly heavier.
There we go.
And who not. You know, some people might not be pushing quite 100%. They might save a little bit in the tank. But I don't know the Boothby is that. Look at that. You can see Caracas. He's gaining quite a bit in the slipstream. He's not looking to... yeah, you saw just there. I was about to say he's not looking to make the move there. If he was going for it, he'd have committed to the inside line. You saw him just back off, just coming into that first chicane. He's thinking about the longer game here. He's not looking to try and make the move, make an unrealistic move. I think what we saw also from the 116 Porsche was him missing his braking point because he went to that inside line really, really, really early. I think he realized he was a little bit too late on the brakes and went to the inside line to avoid an impact. So again, that was sharp thinking in the heat of the moment, and it did indeed avoid an impact.
Now, interestingly, after only 4 laps, we're about to put a car a lap down. That is the 72 Rev Sport International of Jimmy Lynn that is just ahead of Angus Fender right now. And we'll keep our eye on that and see how that one develops, because that could actually play into the hands of Caracas right now. But there is Angus Fender. Again, just looking through the rest of the field, Jonathan Seville then still ahead of Max Voigtner. It's Brian McConnell ahead of the 199 Volante Racing number 2 of Lucas Seidor that is down there in 7th place. Then it's the number 70 Riser Esports in 8th position. And just having a look further down that order, 10 minutes gone in this race, and it already feels like we've done, about 25 minutes. Honestly, such is the amount of action. But some big breakaway groups here. You've obviously got this battle for first, second, and third. Fender's starting to break away from Boothby and Caracas. Then you've got Seville, Voigtner, McConnell, and Seidor in that fight as well. Then you've got another 4-car group of Valek, Varagolo, and Nielsen in that fight as well. But here comes Caracas is again, and yet again, as you said, Chris, he doesn't want to try and make that move. He doesn't want to try and push that.
He's gaining from the slipstream, so he's using that little bit less tyres, a little bit less fuel. He's probably not interested in making the move at the moment. If we were in the final 10 minutes of the race, yeah, he'd be pushing that. Oh, behave yourself, number 72. Nicely done. That's the training BMW. That is the Jerry Lynn car. That is... unfortunately, they had a very early pit stop. That's what's caused them to go back down towards the tail end of the field. Unfortunately, the 99 BMW of Dieppes, the Lutz Motorsports car, has also been through the pits, so they are very, very much out of position. They're coming down to the parabolic themselves. But Caracas, I wouldn't be surprised to stay in there. Slightly further back, so this is Ben McConnell in the 125 McLaren. You just see the left-hand side of the shot, just under the tower, fending off the advances of the 199. Now, McConnell actually overtook the 199 earlier on, the Lucas Seidor car. We were looking at the top. Oh my gosh, the day doesn't get any better for the 26 Ferrari either. The Kamikaze car now has a 5-second penalty on the board. That's likely to be a track limits penalty, or it's been manually instigated. But look at the top. Look at the top of the screen. That is the battle for 4th. So Ben McConnell, the Rag Nation captain, is really pressing on now, and he could really be in a position to challenge the number 200 McLaren. That's the Butterfly Effect Esports squad, and also that leading Porsche. Now, we saw how well they were having a fight, and as we can see from the tower, the 116 Porsche, the Jardier Community Porsche, is back ahead of the McLaren, and McConnell doesn't have the luxury of space on his side there, because he has still got Lucas Seidor right behind him. Is Seidor going to make a move here? He's gaining, but again, I think he's just going to do exactly what Caracas has done. Oh, no, he's committed to the inside line. He's looking to try and make the move. Yeah, Ben McConnell saw him coming. He's a very, very experienced racer in that McLaren. He knew that move was done, didn't try and shut the door with the car in it. Those two are likely to swap position a few more times, I would imagine, but they are going to continue potentially to gain on the two ahead of them. So that's when you're fighting in a pair, you kind of you know when it's going to be punch and counter punch. You know if someone gets a slipstream on you, they'll make the pass. You'll do the same thing on them a lap later. But as soon as you have 3 or more cars in your conga line, it completely changes the dynamic of the fight. As we now look at the battle for 10th position with Nielsen and can't say this one properly. The 38 Porsche. I'll chicken out and go with that.
Oh, come on, give it a go. Give it a go, Chris. You can never kiss.
I wouldn't have said it like that either. So
I've said this off air.
Yuknevicius.
It's all about, if you're going, just have faith. Even if you butcher it, just butcher it with style, butcher it with confidence. That's all you can say. Listen, as being honorary Scot here with GT Omega, we're allowed to butcher names. It's in our blood. It's in our DNA. It's either that. It's either Yuknevicius or it's Pal. It's Pal.
Yeah.
Pal's in there in the 38 Porsche.
Yeah, him.
Aye.
But yeah, Yuknevicius then in the 38 Porsche is really staying on the back of the 17 McLaren. But we are looking at the moment. This is the battle for fourth again with the 200 McLaren. That's the Butterfly Esports squad. That's Johnny Seville still in that car, still pressing on. He does seem to be losing the back of the Porsche a little bit. He's still just about close enough to be getting a slipstream effect, but not by much. There is Yuknevicius. He's very much lost the back of Nielsen. As we were saying, he was hanging on to the back of him and putting the pressure on. Next time we look at him, he's 1.6 seconds behind. So the Porsche has made a mistake somewhere. I didn't think the Porsche would be strong, but it's not slow. So he's made a mistake that's cost him a little bit of time. That's a little bit unfortunate. So the field now is beginning to spread out, but still some very concentrated pair. Oh, now the top three have changed. I was just looking at the tower, actually. Now, briefly, Angus Fender had the fastest lap. Now, Boothby's decided to flex his right foot a little bit. He's given him some gap between himself and Caracas, as we can see. So that third place McLaren is not in a position to challenge. He's over a second behind. Slipstream is effective from about 0.8 of a second. Anything outside of the way, you're not really going to gain. But that McLaren is looking very, very menacing now on the lead of the race from Fender.
It certainly is, and I wonder what has happened to Fender, because Boothby has closed up about 0.6 of a second on that lap there. So Boothby has decided that it's obviously go time for the McLaren, and again, this comes back to the conversation we were having earlier on about the 1.8 updates there, Chris, about the tyres and having to manage them and make sure that they are working optimally, because the way that the tyre wear and the tyre heat spreads through the carcass is very, very different now. But here we go then, Boothby looks like he's locked onto the back of that BMW, but I fear that the BMW has got a little bit too much grunt going down that back straight there. But nonetheless, George Boothby still closing in at a rate of knots here, and we've got 75 minutes left to go in this race. He's a seasoned racer. He knows better than to throw it in and to dive in. But have a look at that then. That brings in Caracas back into the mix as well there. The BMW definitely now starting to either be a little bit slower or starting to maybe struggle with the tyres after pushing so hard early on. But have a look at this. George Boothby now has a look up the inside into the chicane. Doesn't happen though. Now, here's two different possibilities there, because that's a very unusual rate of speed that George Boothby caught up there. Are we seeing some fuel saving? So maybe a different engine map here from Angus Fender, trying to stretch out his stint as long as he possibly can to hand things over. Or are we just seeing the McLaren and the raw pace coming back in? I'm going to say, Chris, that it's potentially the first one, because the fact that Boothby and Caracas were getting dropped by Fender and now suddenly they seem to have a lot of pace over him, I think that that engine's maybe been turned down a little bit.
I think that's more likely as well. Either that or he's just cooked his tyres a little bit too hot. Oh, that was a mistake from Boothby. He was a bit too hot coming into Ascari. Is Caracas going to capitalise on this? Right under the rear wing now of the 75 McLaren. He's very, very close. He could jump out, but he's staying there.
He's bump drafting.
Yeah, I was just thinking, is he actually pushing him? These cars are not really built for that. You need a flat nose to really do that properly. But that's interesting. Now, again, Caracas could have made the move there, because Boothby was just that tiny bit too late on the brakes coming into Ascari. It compromised his line, and it cost him the time that you can very clearly see. But again, Caracas is just not wanting to make the move there. He absolutely could have done. He could have easily jumped out from behind the Yassi car and made that move coming down into Parabolica, but he opted not to do it. He's staying there. He's continuing to gain from the slipstream. I'm actually a little surprised Caracas didn't do that, even though now the 14 car has the fastest lap. I would have thought that Caracas would have made the move and then picked up the slipstream from the back of the BMW. Oh, never mind. We'll come back to that particular battle in a minute as Jonathan Seville all over the back of the 116 Porsche. That's the back marker in the background. That's the 72 car. Is Jonathan Seville going to try and banzai that on the inside of the second chicane? He's drawn alongside, if we can get the right words out in the right order. Oh, no contact between the two. The McLaren's gone round. Oh, that was so close. He's very brave to try and go side by side through the Darrogia chicane, as it used to be called. And he almost did it. He turned in, well, from that camera, it looked like he turned in very, very slightly too early and bounced off the Porsche, and that was all that was needed to unsettle the car.
Yeah, unfortunately, physics and math will always bring out the same answer. Two cars into one corner is always going to be the same outcome, and unfortunately, it's him that loses out on that one. Back to the gap for the lead now, though, and have a look at Angus Fender, though. Gets that exit from Ascari, gets the grunt down on that BMW, and again here comes the McLaren chasing him down towards that final corner then. But no bump drafting required from Caracas on that lap there, and I think Caracas a little bit too far back to actually make anything happen on the start-finish straight here. Now, what is Boothby going to do? Because he's got the run here, he's got the pace, and he's got the time to make this happen before turn one. I think he's going to stick in as Fender goes very, very defensive, and that means that Boothby's going to try and go around the outside. No way, that is never going to happen, because that car just tried to outbrake itself. He's surely going to have to give that position back to the BMW, and that's going to leave him very vulnerable to the car in third place there. Oh, he tries to move over. He chops him off. That is so naughty there from Boothby. There was no need for that, because Caracas was not at fault there, but he's firmly holding on to that position, and he's like, if you want that position, you're going to have to take me out for it. I'm not a fan of that. I can understand why he did it, and in the same position, there's a 110% chance of me doing the same thing, but it's a little bit naughty there, Chris.
I was a bit brutish there from Boothby. There was no need for that, because he clearly had the pace that he could have at least kept up with the 14 McLaren, and could have then tried to retake the position later. What he really wanted to do was stay in the slipstream range of the BMW. He didn't want to then have to fight the 14, the Volante Racing #1 car. I can understand that, but fair play to Caracas. He didn't try and do anything silly. He didn't try and just hold his line oblivious to the fact that the Yasheed car was coming over. He did indeed give the room, and that cost him those few tenths of a second. As soon as Boothby went onto the brakes, I think both you and I kind of saw, it's like if you play a shot in snooker or pool, as soon as the ball leaves the cue, you know full well if that's going to go badly. And I could see he was never slowing that down in a month of Sundays. I've actually done the same thing. I've even forced the same mistake on somebody else once, and I hold on to that sim racing memory very, very dearly. But many a time I've done the same thing. You try and outbrake someone. Your brakes are only ever going to work as well as you think they're going to. They never work as well as you hope they will. So it's just one of these things of you try your best to outbrake the car ahead. As yet again, Boothby is trying to get under Fender's skin there, or under Fender's fender at this rate. But so far, the BMW has had an answer to that Yasheed car so far, and they've actually dropped Caracas a little bit. I'm not sure if there was a bit of damage. Perhaps I don't think there was impact. It looked like that Caracas managed to brake just about in time to avoid impact between the two. But yeah, there was suddenly a gap there that wasn't there before. I didn't see a mistake from Caracas. Perhaps he was a little bit slow coming out of Parabolica or some such. But yeah, Fender is really feeling the pressure. You're now seeing the defensive moves coming into the first chicane. You're now seeing him having to place his car to make Boothby work for the overtake. Whereas before we were just seeing them going through the motions, hitting their own braking points. Now you're seeing the number 89 car really having to defend hard from the advances of Yasheed.
I think the thing with Caracas as well is that there's a little bit of, he's feeling a little bit scorned by that. Because remember, Caracas gave Boothby the bump draft to catch up on this back straight here, to catch up onto a Fender. And he's probably like, all right, okay, I see how it is. I'll just you just do your own thing then, pal, because I'm not coming to help you on that one. Caracas, I get the impression that if Boothby is to show his nose again, Caracas will absolutely take that chance now, 100%, because just the way that all happened was, yeah, it was a little bit confusing. One of the things that's been pointed out is the gap from Caracas to Voitner is about 10 seconds. So, yeah, a real big gap between third and fourth place. But have a look at this. Lucas Sidor here for Volante Racing number 2. He's got Max Voitner in his sights. That's a good move to the outside. Voitner starts drifting over to the left there. There's going to be contact. You can see it coming a mile off. Voitner tries to outbrake himself too late into the corner there, and that allows Lucas Sidor to try and get the cut back, but it's not going to happen. That Porsche just as wide as it possibly can be going into that first chicane then, but it leaves Sidor with a good chance to open that up as we go further round the track here. So here comes Sidor again, has a little look. He's too far back, you would have to say, into turn number 2. I thought he was going to look at it there for just a second, but no such luck on that one. And again, Caracas getting the fastest lap of the race now, just half a second behind second place. But we're going to keep an eye on this battle here. You can see in the background as well, McConnell fancies getting involved in this one as well in the 125 RNE Team Red outfit. So he'll be trying to get involved in that one as well. Ben McConnell, excuse me. So yeah, this is a fascinating cat and mouse game going on here as the leaders come out to the back stretch here. We've got 65 minutes left to go in this race here. Chris, pit stop's going to be coming in, I would imagine, about 10-15 minutes time here. That is going to add a huge complexion to this race. And oh, I thought that was going to be a move from Caracas there.
I thought that was actually going to be impact from Caracas there, but that was rather close. Yeah, absolutely. We're expecting the pit stops in, well, the drivers will know when they're going to do it, but I would think around about the halfway stage is when we're going to see people coming in yet again. It's back to status quo, isn't it, with these three? Fender leading Boothby, leading Caracas, although Boothby is still, he's got that air of determination. And again, you saw the BS+COMPETITION car right in the middle of the track there, defending from the Yas Heat McLaren. So he's really feeling the pressure. And Caracas in the 14 car, in the Volante Racing number 1, at the moment isn't showing any signs of attacking the Yas Heat car. So he's playing the long game. He's thinking, well, fine, you two have an argument. Slow yourselves down if you like. They've got a big gap behind them to the 116 Porsche that's 10 plus seconds, or probably more than that now. So despite the fact that these three have been very, very close all race on, they have continued their relentless pace and opened up, well, there you go, 12.5 seconds between third and fourth. And that gap behind, Ben McConnell gained a second that last lap alone. And that's because Seedor and Voitner just it started with them compromising their line through that first chicane. Because they were both attacking one another, they were very, very slow. And Ben McConnell had a great run through there, so he then closed in quite nicely through the course of the lap. I think he might have lost a tenth and a bit on the last time check. But hey, look at this. Now, the BMW's had a really good run here through Ascari, or certainly from Lesmo through Ascari, but he's not opened up enough to break that slipstream. So Boothby is just going to close slowly but surely back up on the BMW again, and Caracas has got the best seat in the house. But Caracas can't make a mistake. It's very easy to become complacent and make that one crucial mistake at the wrong time and drop yourself out of slipstream. If he lost slipstream to Boothby, he'd find it very, very difficult to then close back in on them. So, Caracas still has to stay focused and maintain the position he's in. Equally, it could also be that the Volante squad, Jonathan Riley's going to be taking that car over. Oh, and again, the BMW going very defensive coming into that first chicane. It could actually be that Jonathan Riley might be the quicker of those two drivers. So Caracas is just staying there like, I don't need to make this move. Our faster man is coming. But again, we don't know what strategy they're playing. I wouldn't be surprised if Caracas just stayed where he was, unless there was a very clear mistake from one or both of the cars ahead of him.
The other thing about Caracas in that number 14 is I am wondering if they are working together with the 75, purely because that's at least 3 different occasions, Chris, that we've seen where the 14 has had the run on that Yas Heat machine and has elected deliberately not to make that happen there. So yeah, very, very unusual, and Brilliant, brilliant stuff. We've got to say a huge thank you to our team behind the scenes here at GT Omega back in head office, who are giving these wonderful, wonderful pictures here tonight, Chris. It's been an absolute joy to take part in this first of quite a few races this season for the GT Omega Challenger Cup. If you have just joined us, a very warm welcome. You have missed all of the action, and Caracas goes very, very wide at the exit of Ascari there. He keeps the car on the black stuff, but that is going to drop him back about 2-3 seconds there, and that is going to be a very, very difficult mistake there. An unforced error, you've got to say there, Chris, coming out of Ascari. They really, really try and push hard to catch up with the cars in front as we cut back to Ben McConnell. Now he's on the back of Lucas Seedorf here. They're going to be side by side going into Parabolica. Last of the late breakers then around the outside. You are kidding me. There is no way he has just done that. He didn't, but my God, did he make that look like it was actually possible for just a minute there, Chris.
He is on a charge there. You can see at the previous time check, he was a second behind. He's gained 9/10 in this lap alone. Now really heavily challenging Seedorf for 5th place, coming down into the first chicane. Now this is going to be a bravest on the brakes here. Oh, and the Porsche might decide this for them, but that's for Seedorf a little bit deep. Now Ben McConnell, he wants to try and come back underneath the 199 car. Is he going to be able to do it? No, he had to compromise his own line. Didn't quite have the space he wanted to try and cut back underneath the butterfly, the second of the Volante cars. But Ben McConnell really means business. And there you can see Seedorf defending the inside line, coming down towards that second chicane. He's not confident that Ben McConnell is just going to sit there and do the miles. Equally, McConnell won't want that Porsche to disappear, which is exactly what Voigtner wants to do. He wants to use the fact that the McLarens are battling to give himself some space. Also, don't forget that 200 McLaren, Johnny Seville, is not far behind them either. So the battle of the Maccas could well extend to that number 200 car. But right now, McConnell is really piling the pressure on for 5th.
It certainly is. And VSR Jam in Twitch chat making a brilliant observation. We were asking the question about Caracas and trying to figure out what is going on. And there we go. That is a change for the lead then. That is George Boothby up in front of Angus Fender. Fender has a look at Parabolica there. We didn't catch where that was. I would bet on my bottom dollar that was Ascari where that actually happened, or the lead up to Parabolica. But they moved on. But it's not going to be done and dusted, because the grunt of this BMW, he's going to be in the toe of the McLaren. And get your popcorn ready, ladies and gentlemen, because this could end in tears in the next 15 seconds as they run down to the first chicane then. They're both consummate professionals here. They know better than this. And thankfully, they proved me absolutely right on that one. So George Boothby tucks in to take the lead. Now, this could be a great move from the BMW here, because he could be saying, right, McLaren, I've been out front, I've done all the work, now it's your turn, you can waste some of your fuel. And that was the point I was going to make there, was VSR Jam on Twitch chat was actually pointing out, we asked what happened to Caracas, and he says it's a very plausible strategy that Caracas could just be tucking in behind George Boothby, and the reason that he's not overtaken, he's just happy to save fuel, he's happy to save his tyres until it actually really matters. Now, this is my question, is Boothby has been really, really ultra aggressive here in pushing to get that lead. Has he pushed a bit too hard? Has he used his tyres more than the BMW, and more importantly, that 14 McLaren behind? That's what we're going to find out, isn't it, Chris, in the next 10 minutes?
Could well be, but this could also be an indication that Boothby's stint is about to end. So if Boothby's coming to the end of his stint, and again, he looked a bit deep there coming into Ascari, and that bit him quite hard last time he did that. If George Boothby's about to hand that car over to Luke Whitehead, then he's going to push everything he can. If they're going to change tyres anyway, fine, burn the best out of them, burn them down to rubber bands. He doesn't care. They're getting rid of them. So it could be that Boothby is about to hand the car over. It's a little bit earlier than I would expect, but we will see. Has he come? He's cut quite. No, I thought he was coming in then, because he cut quite tight earlier than I'd expect to the inside line around at Parabolica. You tend to run around the outside there, but yeah, I would imagine that that's exactly what Caracas has done. He's just been making use of that slipstream. He's not using quite as much fuel. He's not using quite as much on his tyres. So that does leave him to be able to push either towards the end of his stint, or to leave that advantage in the car for when that gets handed over to Jonathan Riley. We don't know. We will see as it carries on. But I'm getting a suspicion Boothby is coming to the end of his stint. I reckon he's just using up what's left in the car, and when that gets handed over, then it's essentially just a reset. So George Boothby is now just leaving nothing on the table, trying to break away from the two behind. If I'm right, expect Boothby in within the next 3 laps.
That's a brilliant observation there. I'm just watching, actually, if you watch Boothby on the exit of the corner, watch how quickly he gaps both Fender and Caracas there, which would suggest to me that the engines are turned down slightly on both the BMW and on the McLaren. Also, into that first chicane, I think he's realised the error of his ways here, because it's starting to look like he's maybe lifting and coasting a little bit into some of the corners, maybe trying to keep a tiny little bit of fuel back, because again, you were watching him stretch away here, and he does it again. The BMW normally would be right on his tail at this point, but the McLaren's starting to stretch away, and I wonder if he's now just starting to ease off a little bit here and trying to save a little bit of the fuel, knows exactly what is happening. That would certainly suggest why there's this unpredictable ebb and flow, and certainly around this final corner now, that BMW closer than it's ever been from the past couple of laps here. Is it going to be a case of the BMW going for it? I don't think it is. I think he's going to tuck up right to the back of Fender and just let him go for it. Maybe show him that he's going to try and make a move, try and distract him, but he doesn't actually do anything. Great gamesmanship and proper 5000 IQ strategy going on here in the first round of the GT Omega Challengers Cup here from Monza. What an amazing race we've had so far. It's been a great start for Angus Fender in the 89 BS Plus competition, but in the past 10 minutes, George Boothby for Yaz Heat has taken the lead of this race, but these three are a country mile ahead of everyone else on the grids. It looks like about a 14-second gap all the way down to Max Voigtner, who has still got that 4th position, but he has got a proper train going on. He has got Lucas Seedor, he's got Ben McConnell, he's got Jonathan Seville, he's got Valek behind him as well. So 5 cars all vying, and this is now getting quite a little choo-choo train, Chris, behind Max Voigtner.
Certainly is, and yeah, that second train is essentially doing what the lead train is doing. It's just they're a little bit more spaced out, so they're not quite getting the best out of the slipstream. These three, obviously, the 2 training cars are most certainly slipstream. That's undeniable. But in the next pack, so Voigtner, Seedor, and McConnell. Seedor and McConnell are a little bit too far spaced out. Seedor might be getting a little bit, McConnell probably isn't. Him being a second back. So he's having to really try and press on, maybe use a bit more fuel than he'd like, and probably more tyres than he would like. Again, we don't know what their strategy is. Bearing in mind that the 125 car started 10th and is up to 6th. So they've had a pretty good run so far. And this top 3 have just been engaged in their own battles all day long. So they're doing a fantastic job. And like you said earlier, David, it's just been brilliant to see so far from all of our competitors.
Certainly has. So let's have a look here as we sort out a little replay here. This will be the move then from Boothby on Fender there. You can see Caracas in the background there, so we'll bring that up to you as soon as we are able to. But we cut back to the live pictures, and again, with it being the first race of the season, we're getting everything sorted out, so there's going to be a couple of little hiccups and gremlins, especially when I'm involved. But anyway, let's have a look here. So this is back to Angus Fender then in that second position. Look at how close Caracas is now, though. Caracas, again, like before, isn't interested in making a move here. I think the two of them have clicked. They've thought, yeah, we're on the same strategy here. We're just going to, we'll let Boothby think we're fighting him, but really we're not. We're just going to do our own little thing here. And the BMW quite happily towing along the number 14 of Caracas. I think that Volante Racing machine is in a very good position here, because think of the amount of tyres and fuel it saves being behind both George Boothby and Angus Fender as well here. And the fact that Boothby stretches away and then just drops back, I think that he's wanting to make sure that they're not taking the mick with him.
Yeah, absolutely. He's playing the same game with Boothby that Boothby did on him. So he's just loitering, although that's a little bit going through. It was a little bit deep there going through Parabolica. You can see the effect of that. That's put him in the clutches of Caracas. But by this point, they know who's really going to push on and who's just going to sit there. And I think they've got the idea that they're just going to use the slipstream to their advantage again. Caracas closes in. Oh, that's a bit of a concertina. Oh, that might have been a bit of a nudge then from the McLaren. I think they kind of caught each other out a little bit there as the BMW probably got on the brakes a little earlier than Caracas was expecting. But again, you would normally expect Caracas here to get into the slipstream. Is he going to try and banzai past the BMW? No, he might try it, and Fender feels the need to defend. That's very close coming up to the second chicane. Oh, we saw this go wrong earlier on. Oh, and the McLaren hits that sausage curve very, very hard. Fender was very, very slightly ahead, so that was, wow, that was brutish, but I think that was quite fair. I think Caracas was just run out of road, same as they all would, but that has spread these three around. Boothby's now is going to nail his foot to the floor. He wants to maximize the advantage he's now been given.
That's not the wisest move, is it? I mean, they're in a very nimble, delicate McLaren, and they're coming up to the tank that is a BMW M4 for the whole thing of self-preservation. That's I'd be a little bit scared if I'm in one of those McLarens coming up to that thing. But Fender predictably getting the elbows out, and you've got to feel sorry for poor Caracas. He's been elbowed out left, right and centre tonight, and something's going to snap. You've got to feel in the next 10 minutes or so as we go on board with George Boothby. Get a great view coming round the Parabolica then to start yet another lap. Let's take you on board then with a lap around here at Monza, coming across the start-finish line. It's full throttle all the way down to turn 1 then, this first chicane. And I usually go between the 200 and the 150 boards here, so braking here onto the brakes. In fact, he's much later onto the brakes there, still gets it stopped in time on a dime and gets it through that right then left-hander then. First chicane is successfully negotiated, then pulls out, then it's on the run round this long right-hander, formerly called Curva Biazzano, but we like to call it Curva Grande because that is what it's called. That's will always be called that. Down the second chicane then, again keeping to the right hand side there on the brakes, pull the car in nice and early, avoid that curb like the plague on the right hand side, let the car drift out wide, straight onto the throttle again, and then it's a short run down to the first of the two Lesmo corners here. This one doubles in quite quickly, but it's the second Lesmo that is much tighter, but you can use a lot of the curb on the inside. But avoiding that curb is George Boothby. You can run out the car wide on the left hand side, again full on the throttle, then the small kink is going to be Curva del Seraglio, and then into Volante Ascari then. Again, a wonderful sweeping complex here. It's on the left. You want to avoid the curbs too much, and that's a huge snap of oversteering. That's exactly, my friends, why we avoid that curb on the left hand side. He gets away with it though very nicely indeed, and then it's the run down towards the Curva Parabolica. Again, looking very good for that one. Ben McConnell, though, down in the 125 in 6th position for RNE Team Red. And I'm pretty sure that is a rather lovely traction logo that I spot on the front of that car.
You are indeed correct. Ben McConnell is part of the traction squad, so he's a content creator for them. That's why you will see the very bright pink X on his car. He's very much toing and froing to the two ahead of him. He'll gain a little bit, he'll lose a little bit, as is the nature of racing, of course. But, you know, from the moves we were seeing earlier on from Ben, he's had to, or either he's had to or he has backed off. He's not still in the battle, as we can quite clearly see. And we've got a pitter. Jonathan Seville has come in. Well, we're fairly close to the halfway stage, probably a little earlier, but either way, the number 200 car is coming, and I would imagine that's going to be the first driver swap we're going to see. The only car we've lost so far, sadly, is the Team Shazoo car, the 404. We lost pretty early on. The number 26 car still carrying that penalty. It has been for a while. But Johnny Seville then is going to hand that over to Gert Fischer, who's the one that qualified the car. And so we should see that name change on the tower. So therefore, now one person's done it. In the next kind of 5 laps, I would have expected the rest of the field to do it. But then I expected Mr. Boothby to have been in the pits 10 minutes ago. So yeah, what do I know?
And on that note, 48 minutes left to go. Boothby now 2.5 seconds ahead of Fender and Caracas here. So the two of them, again, having that dial turned down on the car now has allowed Boothby to get a little bit of speed. I love the fact that Half Beastie in Twitch chat is saying that he's not really caring too much about his pace. He's more worried about his wheel acting up. That's a little bit of banter in the chat already, but yeah, well, the problem is hardware. We've seen hardware failures happen as Caracas comes out of the parabolica right on the tail of Angus Fender here. Again, I don't think he's going to make a move. Are we going to see a bump draft here? The thing is that Fender's not sure what to make of him because, of course, it's an unknown entity. But there you go. There's the side-by-side then going down into turn one then. So it's going to be the McLaren trying to be late on the brakes. The BMW just holds the line there and gets that position done and shows that McLaren to the edge of the track there. So that's going to be the BMW's corner every single day of the week. But the big flashpoint is going to be down here into this first chicane because the McLaren's got the run. It's in the toe. It's stuck in behind there. What's it going to do? Is it going to go to the left or the right? It goes to the right, and the BMW forced to go defensive and has to go early onto the brakes there. And a little bit of a clip there, a little bit of a bump just to say hello. I'm still here from Caracas to Angus Fender here. No real issue with that one, apart from the fact that Fender, I can imagine, is wanting to give him a little bit of a slap round the chops for that one. But Caracas gets to get away with that one. We've got more pit stops then. Christopher Streppin into the pits for the 991 P2 Sim Sports. Bentley is in the pits. He's going to be handing things over to his teammate. That is, of course, Martin Ulrich, who will be getting behind the car of that one. And then the number 17 Consistent Racing Esports machine is into the pits, and that is Menno Nielsen that is in the pits handing things over to Daniel Monaf. So don't be surprised, ladies and gentlemen, if we see into the pits very shortly your race leaders who are just coming round the parabolica. 3.8 seconds now is the gap between Boothby and Fender, and yeah, this is starting to get very interesting right now because Boothby is has got all the cards in his chest.
He does indeed, and because, of course, Fender and Caracas were fighting that hard, that's given Boothby a big old lead to himself, and Caracas is in. So the Volante Racing #1 car, Jonathan Riley, it is time for you to step forward, sir, and see what he can do. Now, I would expect Riley to, assuming that the pit stops are obviously similar length, I would imagine the 14 McLaren is probably going to be back on the case of the 89 BMW before long. Jonathan Riley will probably sit there for around about 30-ish minutes. I'm expecting all the moves to be made in the final 10 minutes of the race. That's what I'm expecting to happen as we continue to see the now third place car, Max Voigtner, charging his merry way. Of course, the tower will update itself very soon. Oh, Mr. Boothby, that McLaren is starting to misbehave on you. I would imagine the rear tyres are probably a bit hot, which is why you're seeing the tail end dance a little bit. But then it's a very low downforce track. You never ever run wing or any a decent amount of wing at Monza. Try that entire sentence again. The number 38 car has now come in. That is the TJ Porker Racing. That still makes me smile every time I say it.
I love every time you say that. There's a little,
I can't help
10-year-old giggle that comes out.
I can't help. I'm such a child. I'm a child, and I make no apology for it either. The Porker squad has come in along with the Ferrari. So the number 2016 Kamikaze Ferrari has now come in. They do have that additional 5-second penalty. That is likely to be a track limits penalty. We haven't been informed of any kind of steward's intervention or anything like that. We haven't seen any misbehaving. In comes Mr. Boothby. So the Yas Heat car now comes in. Did the BMW follow? I don't think he did. No, he didn't. So that is Angus Fender then doing another lap. So slightly over halfway is the BS Competizione car. So now, will the second drivers maintain the pace that the first drivers have set?
That is a very, very good question. So we'll wait with bated breath to see and find out what exactly happens with this one, because the first one we've got to see is that number 14. Where do they come out? And of course, that is the number 14. Excuse me, not the number 14, because that's Jonathan Riley. That's it is Jonathan Riley. That's I was getting so confused, of course, because we've got another Jonathan in the squad as well. But so Riley behind the wheel of that number 14, that's who we're going to be keeping an eye on in that in 8th position. So they're back on track just now, and they're coming up to the Parabolica. So that is a fairly quick stop here. Boothby is still in pit lane. So Boothby hasn't got moving. He's going now. This could be very, very close. So Boothby is going to get back onto the throttle here. It's going to be maybe a 2-3 second gap that he's got over the number 14. But it's certainly going to be a lot closer than when it went in. For me, this is going to hand things on a plate to the BMW then, because that's Boothby just into the first chicane now, and on cold tyres as well, remember. So it depends on how much Fender has got in the tank here, because I'm positive he dialed the engine down to save and keep a couple of laps in his pocket here. We'll find out, because if he comes in here, then he's not saved on all that much. But if he stays out more, in fact, no, here he comes in. So it's going to be handing things over to his teammate then. It's going to be Ryan Barneveld who is going to get behind the wheel of the BMW. And we have got a race on our hands here, Chris.
That we do. So was the additional lap the wise thing to do? There is Jonathan Riley in the Volante number 1 car, the number 14. Luke Whitehead now in the Yas Heat car. That's the one that's at the bottom of the shot. And there is the number 99. Now, we haven't really spoken too much about the Lutz Motorsports car. That is Felix Diepers in the car. The reason why we haven't spoken, they haven't changed driver. They've been in the pits very early on for damage. That's Felix started in that car. They have to come in and change the driver. I knew there was 2 cars. I was trying to remember who the other one was. Felix Diepers is one of them. The other one is the 72 car. The RevSport International car is still in the hands of Jimmy Lynn. That has not handed over yet to Ed Haskell. So that BMW is essentially out of position. Here we go. Is Luke Whitehead going to be able to get back ahead of the BMW that is now being handed over?
This is going to be so
It's going to be close. It's going to be Ryan Barneveld in control of the 89. Oh, no, there he goes. There goes the McLaren. So, no, it was not an overcut that favoured the BMW. He's going to be quite some distance behind the Yas Heat car.
Certainly is, but remember that BMW takes a couple of moments, takes a couple of laps to get its tyres warmed up. The McLaren seems to be able to just absolutely send it straight away there, and the 89 then jumping down into that 3rd position. But this is the issue here, because have a look at Riley there, Jonathan Riley, getting closer to the back end of Luke Whitehead here. And Luke Whitehead, I think, is going to struggle a little bit. And that's exactly what you've seen there, going too deep into the chicane. And that means that Jonathan Riley now has a chance as they come up to Lesbos. More defensive driving, you've got to say. And the more that they fight, the easier it is for Ryan Barneveld to get right up to the back of them here. So any advantage that Luke Whitehead had has now absolutely disintegrated right before their eyes, because we're back to square one with these 2 McLarens. That BMW just 3 seconds, 3.9 seconds back as they come up to Ascari here. Oh my goodness me, you get the feeling after what Riley has seen happen to his teammate, there's going to be absolutely no love lost here between these 2 McLarens there, and it's a great exit from Jonathan Riley. He's right onto the back of Luke Whitehead. This is it. 40 minutes left to go. This could be the chance into Parabolica on their 2nd lap out of the pits here. Is it going to be a move up the inside? No, he thinks better of it. Maybe it's going to be down this start-finish straight here. A little bit wide there for Riley, but again can tuck into that toe of Luke Whitehead. Meanwhile, Barneveld now dropping further back there, 4.1 seconds behind these 2 here. Thrilling race that we've got on our hands here. Have a look into the toe then. There goes Riley again. Is it going to be a move up the inside? He thinks about it. Late on the brakes, pulls back in. But again, there's going to be a little bit of fuel saving, I think, here.
Is it going to be fuel saving, or is it just going to be biding his time? Because again, it's quite clear that these two are on a very, very similar pace. Barneveld, he's lost a second in that lap alone. But like you said earlier, David, that BMW is going to need time to get up to speed. Or is it going to be side by side coming down into the second chicane? They're drawing alongside one another. We haven't seen this move work very well at all tonight. And yet again, Riley had to bow out of that. That's exactly what happened to Caracas, although Caracas actually hit the inside apex. But again, the 14 McLaren has lost out. He didn't fancy being squashed over that inside apex at the Del Loggia. So again, he's going to have to close back in on Luke Whitehead, and that is no easy feat whatsoever. McLaren's going to be properly up to speed by now, so that could be, well, that's a very tall order for even someone as good as Jonathan Riley to have to do. Slightly further back, that's 10th position, the 991 Bentley, now in the hands of Martin Ulrich. He's got the 99 car, that's the Lutz Motorsport Porsche of BMW, in the hands of Till Jorensen. That's a great scrap that's formed there, whilst we've been mainly concentrating on the top squad. The Bentley and the second place BMW, the one of Jorensen, in a great scrap then to just break into the top 10. And interestingly, we've been Tracky 4141, so car 75 wheel problems. Both drivers say they are slow. They're saying they're slow and they're still leading the race. Right.
Okay, that's interesting. I'm thinking there's a bit of shenanigans, a little bit of mind games going on there for sure. But meanwhile, Jonathan Riley, I'll tell you exactly what I think it is. I think they've pushed too hard too early on those tyres. Remember, we said about that new 1.8 update coming out a couple of months ago, meaning that you had to be very, very gentle on your tyres on the start of a stint, because if you weren't, then you decrease the lifespan of your tyres immeasurably, sometimes by about 5-6 laps, depending on the early pressure that you put in here. And Riley doing an absolutely blinded job of hounding that car in front of Luke Whitehead, putting all this pressure on. You get a feeling this is like a pressure pot. It's just building and building and building, and none of us know what the outcome of this is going to be. What I do know is that Ryan Barneveld is dropping away massively here. Now, is that a problem with the car? Is this a deliberate thing, or is he potentially just trying to hold off? I can't understand why he's dropping about a second a lap behind these two. But look at that, out of the Ascari corner then comes Riley. Is this going to be a move into the Parabolica? Surely it's got to be. You've got to say it's going to be around the outside. There we go. And again, moving that car over to the edge, and you can see now that Riley's well aware of it. He keeps behind Luke Whitehead there, because Whitehead is just going to try and force that car out onto the grass here. It's a much better run down the start-finish straight here. Here we go then. This is for the lead off the race with 36 minutes left to go in this first round of the GT Omega Challengers Cup. Side by side goes Jonathan Riley with Luke Whitehead. Whitehead tries to go defensive, moves that car across, goes deep into the corner, gets it going, but that's a better exit from Riley, and this is cat and mouse to the absolute extreme. Right, what is going on with Ryan Barneveld? That is now 6.5 seconds. That was a car that was chasing for the lead of this race, and now dropping a second behind these ones here. Chris, I'm so scared to look away from this.
Well, one, we don't have control of the camera, so we can't look away from this, but that's another matter. Oh, these two McLarens are having a great old scrap. Now we're in the final half of the race. I don't think anyone's going to leave anything on the table. Oh, that was a possible opportunity there for Riley, but didn't feel there was there's not a very big braking zone down there into Lesmo 1, so you can understand why he doesn't do it. We're still getting reports that the number 75 car has problems shifting up and down, I think they were saying, but apparently is disconnecting on left turns. That's rather awkward. It's a good thing there's not too many of those in this particular circuit, as we now look at Martin Ulrich screaming on down to that first chicane with Jorensen still right behind him. But wow, I mean, if the Yas Heat squad are fighting technical issues and still leading the way, that's an absolutely phenomenal performance. But because they are fighting, Barneveld doesn't have to do anything spectacular. He's now closed in a bit because the top two McLarens are having an argument. I was wondering whether there was a problem with the car. I just think Barnival's biding his time. He's not in any position. Try that entire sentence again. He's not under any pressure behind. There's 10.5 seconds back to Machowski in the 116 Porsche. So he doesn't have to do anything silly here. But Luke Whitehead, however, would love to have some lead. And that is all disappearing as the number 14 draws alongside again. But he's going to be forced to the outside line of that first chicane. We know where that goes. And it goes like that, basically. You should have backed out of that one, Mr. Riley. That was never really going to work too well for you. And that's going to cost him all that valuable momentum coming through Curva Grande. And that's going to, again, help Barneveld. Well, it's going to help him in the sense of that lead, that gap rather, but from second to third, it's just going to continue to shrink. Briefly yellow flag, but I didn't quite see who that was. I think someone's had a bit of a moment somewhere. I'm hazarding a guess it was the 17 car that had a bit of a moment on the exit of the second Lesmo, but they're still going again, so not sure who that was. But all they're gonna do is cost each other time, unless Riley can get past and get away, or if Luke Whitehead can break that slipstream between himself and that chasing Volante Racing car. We will see. We've got half an hour for them to figure out what they're going to do.
I don't think my little heart can take another half an hour of this one. Meanwhile, Martin Ulrich on the back end of the number 70 here. That is in fact, that is Ulrich, in the Bentley, getting overtaken by the, is that the BMW behind him? Is that Urison?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there we go, Urison. Well, I think they're going to have to call the police on that one, get a crime reference number, Chris, because that was a bit of a mugging that happened in broad daylight here at Monza from that BMW up into that P10 spot. I don't think they're going to be too happy at that one.
But that Bentley looked like it was misbehaving itself coming into that first chicane. It really struggled to slow down. It was getting very, very fidgety. So, again, it could be that Ulrich just opted to go for the more cautious option. Oh, Luke Whitehead does have a little bit of a gap here. That's what half a second looks like in these GT3 cars. And that's plenty enough to keep Jonathan Riley comfortably behind, but certainly in a position where he's not going to attack coming into that first chicane. Has looked a bit more of a comfortable exit this time for the Yazhi car coming on to Curva Grande. Again, just Riley's never far away. Now Barneveld under 5 seconds behind these. So that either that BMW is now properly up to pace, or it's just the fighting that these two are doing that's slowing them down, or both. I suspect that Barneveld's just taking his time. He doesn't want to do exactly what you were saying earlier, David, and burn the best out of his tyres too quickly. These McLarens are certainly going to be doing exactly that. There is Krzysztof Machowski in the 116 Porsche. That's the Jardier community car. Again, owe me of little faith. I thought the Porsches wouldn't do too well, and he's doing an absolutely cracking effort up there in fourth. That's the 199 car right behind. That'll be the man with probably the longest name in sim racing history. There's Noah Sully Vazquez Rodriguez. Goodness me. Read properly, man. I know the name's small on the tower, but I've got it written down here and I still have no excuse. But fair play to Machowski, though. He's really pressing on with that Porsche. He's dealt with any pressure he's had up to this point. And now, as I was complimenting Barneveld, he's now 6 seconds behind, but that's just the ebb and flow of the circuit, I think, more than anything else. Or it could well be a back marker mixed in that, looking at the map. But yeah, we've still got some decent racing coming up. I reckon Riley and Whitehead are just going to continue to fight for the lead. Barneveld is going to pick his time and close in. I'm still kind of putting an outside bet on the BS+ Competizione car taking the top spot towards the end. And there you go. You can see the tower update there. The McLarens were side by side coming over the line as we see Machowski getting past the backmarker BMW there. That's the 72 car now in the hands of Ed Haskell, doing a good job staying out of people's way. Now, what's going on with our lead pair? Did they swap round? No, I don't think they did. No, Luke Whitehead did actually manage to fend off Jonathan Riley. You can see the tower, just 73,000 between them when they came over the line. So Riley was very clear to try and make the move, but still Luke Whitehead fends him off.
Amazing stuff as we go into the final half hour of racing here. It's Luke Whitehead for the number 75 Yazhi GTWR McLaren in front of Jonathan Riley in the number 14 Volante Racing number 1 outfit. cracking fight here. It's then Ryan Barneveld in third place for BS+COMPETITION. Then you've got Krzysztof Miskowski in the 116 in fourth position there. That is in the Jardier Community Porsche down there. And then, as we said, in the 199 Volante Racing number 2 machine is the McLaren of Noah Sully Vasquez Rodriguez, just ahead by about 4.5 seconds over the 125 RNE Team Red McLaren of Hulleman that is behind the wheel of that one, and that, as we said, the 125 Robin Hulleman behind the wheel of that one. Then it's Geert Fischer who is in the number 200 Butterfly Effect Esport machine there, taking over from Jonathan Seville, and that was the two Jonathans that I was on about there. So Geert Fischer behind the wheel of that one. Geert, of course, taking the qualifying duties for that one. Then it's the 23 Cause Esports machine in 8th position, and that is currently being piloted by Dimitris Sanides behind the wheel of that one. Then in 9th position is the number 70 Riser Esports Porsche. They are about a second and a bit behind Sanides in that 23 there, catching up very, very quickly indeed. And as I said, that is the Riser Esports machine at the moment, doing a good job. That is Wojtek Dvorak behind the wheel of that one. Back to our leaders though, and just getting past one of the Porsches there. You can see the 89 trying to close in, but again 6.2 seconds, that is not really happening. The other thing to remember is that different teammates have different levels of pace and ability. You might not have a team that is consistently fast, or has two teammates that are as fast as each other. So we'll keep an eye on that and see what happens there. But our eyes are absolutely transfixed right now. Luke Whitehead ahead of Jonathan Riley. Riley just looking more to make a nuisance of himself as they come into Ascari. You get the feeling, Chris, that Luke Whitehead, the way he's driving that car, he could be forced into making an error himself.
Could well be. It rather depends on how determined Jonathan Riley is to make the move. Now, he's drawn alongside several times. It looks like he's going to do the same thing again, coming down to Parabolica. He bows out of it this time. He doesn't fancy trying to go side by side, although saying that did put Luke Whitehead off a little bit. Going to draw side by side again, coming over the line. Whoa, that's getting very, very close. I would not want to be there. You can literally reach out for one car and grab hold of the other one. It's kind of like traffic in London, although nowhere near this fast. Heading down towards the first chicane again, I suspect. Yep, there we go again. It's Yassi going to hold the inside line, try and run to the road. Possibly a bit too brutish, but then that's to be expected, really. But it's not worked out well for the Yassi car, as Jonathan Riley's had a great exit from that chicane, side by side through Curva Grande. Who's going to win out when they come down to the Dall'Orgia? Of course, because of the Yassi car having the inside line, he's going to know slightly ahead. Who's going to be brave on the brakes? Oh no, they've come together. Oh, I thought that was going to be a spin. That's going to be Whitehead over the bollards. He was still ahead. I would imagine Riley's going to remain behind coming into the Lesmos, which he does. Ooh, it's getting a bit untidy up front, but this is rather what I thought was going to happen. We're seeing punch and counter punch, but that was a little bit too scrappy though coming into that next chicane.
Oh, and there's a problem for Riley. Riley stops in the middle of the track. He's had enough. There's been possibly a hardware issue. Now, it did look like that car was slow coming out of the first Lesmo there. It looked like there was a little bit of a power slide going on. I wonder if it's just been a quick wheel reset, but that means that Jonathan Riley gets moved down into third position. You're right, it was very, very scrappy between the two of them there, and a little bit of elbows out from the pair of them there, but that gives Ryan Barneveld the get out of jail free card. He's now just 4 seconds behind, and here's my question: is this go time now for that BMW? Because he's watched those two absolutely push each other, destroy those tyres, and he's been quite happily sitting there behind, as we see Till Jurison in a huge battle right now with Martin Ulrich. Ulrich keeps the boot in, tries to get going round the outside. My goodness me, he gets it done, but at what cost there, Chris?
Well, what cost indeed. Again, great scrapping going on. It looked a bit cleaner between those two at times, but Oh, who's going to win out over this one? Will Bentley beat BMW? Oh, yellow flags. Oh no, that's who's had trouble on the run out of Ascari. Ah, it was the 70 car. That's Dvorak that was having trouble. I could see that there was the yellow marker coming out of the Ascari chicane. I was hoping it wasn't the 75 car. I mean, you never want to see a battle end like that. You never want to see anybody having trouble, of course. But yeah, great shame then. But still in ninth position. But that's going to probably seal their fate in that position. And still in fourth position is Machowski in the 116 car. So, pressing on. He pushed the ignition. Apparently, that's why he started. Well, that'll do it if you turn the car off. That will definitely do it.
Certainly is, and 23.5 minutes left to go in this race. Luke Whitehead still in the lead ahead of Ryan Barneveld after that hardware issue for Jonathan Riley, now demoted down into third position. Then it's Krzysztof Moskowski that we can see here in that day-glow yellow Porsche who is being hunted down by the McLaren, by the 199 Volante Racing number 2 machine that is just behind him just now. That is, of course, Noah Sully Vasquez Rodriguez, who is hunting him down as they head down towards the Parabolica. But Chris, final 20 minutes then of this race, and do we think Jonathan Riley can get back into the fight, or do we think that looks like it's going to be kind of game over for the rest of the race?
That's a tricky one. That's a long way back now. He's 7.5 seconds behind Barneveld, who's 4 seconds behind Whitehead. I reckon that's job done, unfortunately. I cannot see that he's going to close in that much of a gap in the remaining 20, just shy of 23 minutes. I can't see it. He's good. Of course he's good. We know that. But I can't see he's going to have that much pace. Unless problems before either Whitehead or Barneveld. It's the only way that I can see Riley climbing further up the podium. Is he going to hang on to third? Sure thing. Yeah, I cannot see that Machowski in the Porsche is going to be able to overhaul that mighty Volante car. Again, I mean no disrespect to the Jardier Community Porsche. They've done an outstanding job, as I've said. But I don't think they're going to be able to do it. I would think that unless Barneveld has an absolutely mighty push, I'm beginning to wonder whether he may well just not quite have the pace of Luke Whitehead, which, again, is nothing to be ashamed of. Luke Whitehead is one of the fastest, if not the fastest, in this entire field. So there is no way that that's no slight on Barneveld whatsoever. I do think, though, that we could well be seeing the field kind of sorted out, unless this battle for fourth, though, is still hotting up, as well as the battle we're looking at the moment for 10th between Yorison and Ulrich. There's still positions out there to decide, but I think the podium is pretty much set now.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that one. But as we said, 21 minutes left to go in the race here. We're watching on the rear bumper here of the BMW of Till Yorson for the 99 Lutz Motorsport outfit, of course. Down there in 10th position, Martin Ulrich. I mean, he looks so menacing in that 991 Bentley, but we cut back to the battle then between Krzysztof Moskowski and the 199 of Volante Racing too. I think that McLaren a little bit far back for trying to make a move here, unless it's going to be an absolute send from nowhere into turn 1 there. But that Porsche looking just resplendent in that livery, that bright day glow yellow and green livery there of the 116 team. That's, of course, the Jardier community car. But also watching this with the final 20 minutes left to go, as you said, I mean, the gaps have opened up, and you would never have predicted this with how close qualifying was.
No, indeed. But that is the nature of racing, certainly with multiple teammates. Like you said earlier, David, that you don't ever have a team where every driver has identical pace. Similar, certainly, but you've always got those that are slightly stronger here, slightly weaker there, slightly better on this track than their teammate, etc., etc. You never have a team full of identical pace drivers. Oh, was that McLaren getting very, very squiddly then. The Yas Heat car. Luke Whitehead is pressing on. He's not leaving anything to chance. He might have 5 seconds back to Barnival, but you could just tell by the body language of the car, he is rinsing the life out of that thing. Fastest lap belongs to Yas Heat, which again is a fairly obvious statement. Oh, hello, this is the Jardier Porsche. Wow, did he have a fairly decent drive on the exit of Ascari, trying to keep the 199, the second Volante Racing McLaren at bay, as Wachowski is really defending hard from Rodriguez. Again, apologies, that's supposed to be Vasquez Rodriguez. I'll try and get the name properly said. On board with the McLaren then. Is he going to make a move coming down into Rettifidio for that 4th position? He's got the pace to do it. The Porsche defends well late, but in good time. That's going to force the McLaren into the outside line. Who's going to be bravest on the brakes? The McLaren noses ahead, but the Porsche should be a bit better on the brakes. Holds onto the inside line, but can't hold him back. Vasquez Rodriguez, compromise line coming out of the Rettifidio, though. Can the Porsche get the pace down and the momentum through Curva Grande? No, that 4th position. Nicely done to Volante Racing number 2.
Brilliant move there. Absolute determination from the 199. But look at the Porsche. It's driving hard down towards the second chicane here, but not quite hard enough. And what has happened? Ignore me. It's just the timing board updated itself, and it caught me out there. I thought that something had happened to our podium, but again, no, it's not. Oh, a little bit of contact there from the Porsche on the rear end there of Noah Sully. Vasquez Rodriguez there, desperate to try and get that position back, but with the momentum that the McLaren has, I think that Porsche is going to very quickly drop off the tail end of the McLaren out in front. 18 minutes left to go. The next position that I'm going to keep an eye on is the 2 McLarens down in 6th and 7th position, and that is the Porsche getting it all wrong into Ascari there. The McLaren gets going. Wow, that was a huge drift there. You saw the rear end of that McLaren almost at about 20 to 30 degrees from the front, where the front tyres would go. And so that was a huge drift from that McLaren there, really pushing. You can see how unstable that car is. The tyres starting to become a bit of an issue here with 17.5 minutes left to go. And wow, what a race that we've had tonight. But it's still not over yet, and I'm also watching this battle in 6th and 7th position between the 125 RNE Team Red machine. Now that is Robin Hulleman that is behind the wheel of that one, and Geert Fischer in the 200 Butterfly Effect machine. That is about 1.5 seconds between those two as well, and that's closing quite quickly. The gap to Barneveld under 5 seconds, but again, I think Luke Whitehead has the measure of this race here, Chris.
It looks like it is, unless Luke has some kind of technical trouble that's been alluded to throughout the chat all night long, which you never want to see, and we always want to see the racing concluded on track. There is Barneveld essentially on his own. Unlike this battle, crikey, as Vasquez Rodriguez is again under pressure from Wachowski. This is for 4th position. They have been in each other's tyre smoke all night long, these two, and now this battle is really hotting up. It said it would be getting good in the last 20 minutes. It's been pretty good all night long, quite frankly, but it's really hotting up now. Porsche in the tyre tracks of the McLaren has a look a little bit early, coming down towards the Ascari. This is where it went wrong last time. The trees kind of blocked the view at the wrong time as the McLaren's gone deep. Oh, the tail of that McLaren getting all over the place, but that put the Porsche off. Wachowski could not get the momentum he needed. If he was able to get a run of the McLaren, he'd have soared past him heading down towards the Rettifidio, but the Rettifidio couldn't be the Parabolica. Oh, has a look in the inside line. The Porsche could probably have held that line, but again, not a big enough braking zone coming into the Rettifidio. I did it again. What is wrong with me? Into the Parabolica. But now, is the Porsche going to try and line up a move heading down towards the first chicane? He's a little bit too far back, unless he has an absolute slipstream of the gods, which he can do. He's certainly close enough. Less than 4 tenths over the line. No, he knows better than that. He's going to hold position. Oh, no, just as I say that, you saw that Porsche get very squiggly. I think he was just a few meters slightly too late on his braking point, possibly a tiny lock up there, but the Porsche stayed under control. He's really hustling the McLaren hard. Vasquez, Rodriguez, and Wachowski are going to have to work very, very hard to maintain the positions.
And the thing is, as well, is that you can see just how hard he's working to make this move work, and it's just not happening for him. I was expecting, and I said this about 2 minutes ago, I was expecting the Porsche to get dropped by the McLaren. That's not happening at all. Vasquez Rodriguez not able to really pull away in that McLaren from the Porsche, and fair play to Krzysztof Muskowski in that 116 Jardier community car, definitely still on it. This is the battle for P12 and 13, though, I believe. In fact, that is one of the cars a lap back there. The McLaren there. In fact, no, sorry, that's our race leader, isn't it? That was Luke Whitehead that was going ahead of Monaf there in the number 17. This is Jonathan Riley, though, who is what looks like about 8 seconds behind our race leader right now. Gap to Barneveld as well, with 15 minutes left to go here, Chris. It looks to be about 5.1 seconds, kind of ebbing and flowing there, but it looks like, as we said, this podium might be already decided.
Yep, but as we've said, that battle for fourth still raging on. As you said, Fisher is looming behind the 125 car of Hulleman as well, so that is not necessarily done and dusted just yet either. We will see how that transpires. On board with Barneveld, he's 5.2 seconds behind the race leading, just about, well, you can see a vague speck as we come out of the Curva Grande. That car ahead. Well, there's a couple of them up there. One of them is our race leader. There is on board with Mchowski. There is our Ferrari. That's the number 26 car, currently in the hands of Kozlowski. That is doing a good job of staying very much out of the way. There's Mchowski. There's a lot of skis in this in this race, I just realised. But Mchowski is right on the tail still of Rodriguez. So, yeah, again, fantastic battle still looming. I still am not a huge fan of the colour scheme the Jardier community squad have used. I mean, it's bright, I grant you that. It's kind of highlighter yellow. There are worse, I suppose. Machowski is, at the moment, I think he's just going to stay there. I think he's just biding his time. He's still having to push really, really hard to keep up with Vasco Rodriguez. And he's doing a great job in doing so. But at the moment, he doesn't look quite poised to make the move. He's going to have to close in a bit. But I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing this battle liven up again in the last few minutes of the race.
That's absolutely a possibility with 12.5 minutes left to go in this first round, opening round of the GT Omega Challenger Cup. A huge thank you to everyone that has joined us this evening for what's been a cracking opening race in this championship, as we're watching this battle for 4th and 5th position. As you can see, Vasquez Rodriguez there having a little bit of a wobble coming out of the parabolic here. Here comes the Porsche, though, with the grunt, with the drive, coming down the start-finish straight. Is he too far back, though? He does get a little taste of the slipstream from the car in front, but again, I think it's too little too late to make any sort of an effort here. The Porsche looks to the inside, it's making a nuisance of itself. That's pretty much all it's doing right now, just trying to distract the driver in front. It's all going to be about the exit from that corner, though. But as we go with just over 10 minutes left to go, it's the Luke Whitehead in the lead from Ryan Barneveld, then Jonathan Riley ahead of Sully Vasquez Rodriguez in 4th position. It's then Krzysztof Muskowski in 5th, then you've got Hulleman in 6th, Fisher in 7th, Sanides in 8th, it's Dvorak in 9th, Jursen in 10th, Ulrich in 11th with the Bentley, Monaf in 12th position, Sianukas in 13th position, Kozlowski in 14th, and then Haskell in 15th. And for those wondering why that car, we'll come back to that in a second. There we go. Porsche tries to take advantage through the Lesbos of a mistake by the McLaren. It's not going to happen, but again, showing the pressure has been well and truly noticed, and that ratchet is getting applied and the tension is getting put more and more and more. Just an explainer on the number 72 there of Rev Sport International, for those wondering. They were caught up in a lap 1 instant. They went a lap down, and that is why they are showing. They are only 1 lap down, but they are showing as potentially going nearly 2 laps down. Just because of where they are on the circuit in relation to the leader. Poor exit from Ascari from the Porsche there, and that allows that McLaren to streak off into the sunset.
For now, at least. But yeah, if the McLaren of Vasco Rodriguez makes mistakes like that, that Porsche is going to gobble him up, as Machowski has been pretty consistent for most of the race. So he's just keeping the pressure on. and staying in the tyre tracks very, very nicely. I'm also looking at Jonathan Riley, the Volante number 1. Volante 3rd and 4th at the moment. He is closing in on Barneveld. Is he closing in quick enough? Not quite certain he is at the moment. But that gap, 2nd to 3rd, has been dropping for a while. So, yeah, we might have a battle for 2nd before the checkered flag falls. Less than 10 minutes to go of this hour-and-a-half race. Absolutely fantastic stuff. We're on board with the number 14 McLaren. Ooh, again, using every available pixel that is at his disposal. On the exit of Lesmo 1, doing the same out of the 2nd. Lesmo, the car directly ahead, is not the one he's chasing for position. That is the... trying to look on the map, which car is that?
I think that's Monaf and the McLaren that's in front of him.
I think you're right. Although the one directly ahead is Moraf, you're right. But the one ahead of that is the one he's chasing in position. 2.8 seconds now separates Barneveld and Riley. We know how ricey Riley is. Try that one again. How racy Riley is. Oh, for God's sake. You'd think I would do this talking lark very well, considering how long I've commentated before. But, yeah, Riley is really pressing on. He's not going to be wasting any time by the time he gets to the back of Barneveld as the R&E... That's the R&E car that's getting out of the way. One of the R&E cars getting out of the way. Nicely done. Staying out of the way of those on the next lap up. But Riley really means business. He would have lost a bit of momentum behind the car he's just gotten past. But he's pressing on nonetheless.
Certainly is. And we are in the final 10 minutes of this 90-minute race. And have a look at this now. It's all about the pressure from the Porsche behind of Krzysztof Maskowski. As we've got 8 minutes left to go. It's now or never for that Porsche. You couldn't get any closer if he tried. He makes a move out. This is down towards the starts chicane. Noah Vasquez Rodriguez late on the brakes and does exactly what he needs to do to hold that position for the McLaren. But you get the feeling that it is going to be a case of sooner rather than later for that Porsche of Krzysztof Maskowski in the 116 for Jardier community to get their way past that car in front. We'll certainly keep our eyes on that. That gap between Riley and Barneveld now down to 2.1 seconds. The Porsche thinks about it again, thinks better of it, pulls back in behind that McLaren, and again, this is good, intelligent driving. You've got to say, Chris, really using his brain, trying to prod that car in front, find out where it's weak, find out where it's strong, and then take advantage of that. Still 7.5 minutes left to go. That is at least 3 more opportunities to try and make a move on that car in front.
Yeah, but you know that Porsche is going to take every opportunity it gets, and fair play to Vasquez Rodriguez as well for just absorbing all that pressure. Again, that gap is just descending between the 2nd and 3rd. Barneveld is going to have some fighting to do if he wants to keep Riley behind him, which is a very, very hard job. We saw how quick Jonathan Riley was earlier on. Again, that Porsche didn't have a good run through Ascari, so that's going to give Noah Vasquez Rodriguez a little bit of breathing space into the Parabolica, but again, that Porsche is well within slipstream range as long as they get a decent run. Both cars are getting a little bit squiggly. The Porsche looks really uncomfortable going that far wide, but just absolutely nails the throttle. If in doubt, go flat out, as the late great Mr. McRae used to say. But screaming down towards the first chicane again. That Porsche's too far back, and this dance continues. 6.5 minutes to go.
I love how he said that he's got a little bit of breathing space, and then the Porsche just appears like, hello,
Yeah.
I'm still here, remember me? But the Porsche, again, it swings and roundabouts with this battle going on. It's brilliant to see because, Chris, as commentators, we're so used to, especially with ACC, we're so used to seeing battles where cars just absolutely send it in from like 2 miles back and it's all hell kicking off. Whereas for the majority of this race, for at least 95 to 98% of this race, all of these drivers have been so calm and collected and proper. Obviously, there's some very notable exceptions to that, mostly within the top 3. But outside of that, am I saying right? Is that gap down to 1.8 seconds? It is between Barneveld and Riley. I'm going to call it now. I think you said this. I think Riley's going to have this 2nd place. 5.5 minutes left to go. The gap is coming down too much for it not to happen.
Barnival's got a hell of a job on his hands, I reckon, to keep that charging Volante Racing #1 car behind him. We will see. That's all eyes at the moment are going to be, that's my eyes certainly, are on the fourth place battle as we look at Barnival. So you won't see the McLaren behind him in that particular camera shot. 1.4 seconds as they come over line. That's the one that I'm keeping my eye on, is Vasco Rodriguez, or VR as someone called him. I actually thought, virtuality is working well, was how my brain read that particular sentence. Of course it would, but that Porsche is just, again, he's a little bit too far back right now, but you know during the course of the lap that Machowski closes back in on the McLaren. Now with 4.5 minutes remaining, I reckon if that Porsche's got anything left, if he's been keeping anything in reserve, now is when he's going to push his foot that little bit harder through the firewall. We will see if that Porsche's got anything left to answer the McLaren.
Certainly will. They're coming through Curva Grande then, and look at the pace that the Porsche's got on that McLaren. Has a look up the inside, not going to happen. Too far back onto the brakes into the second chicane, and that is the wide from the McLaren. That compromises the exit. There goes the chance for the Porsche, and that is interesting defending from the McLaren. Just put the car exactly where it needed to be here, and this is slowing the pair of them down now. Now the Porsche has it on. Now the Porsche smells blood. He sees a gap up the inside. He's going to try and send it. There's contact. There was always going to be contact. The two of them collide again and keep it in. That is amazing stuff from the two of them. The McLaren holds on to the position. The Porsche has to sit behind. Moskowski has to regroup. He has to rethink again and plan and plot and execute that one more time, because that was unbelievable. That was a desperate move up the inside of Lesmo, and it's only luck that meant that neither of them went into the wall there. Meanwhile, back with Ryan Barneveld, and this is slightly ominous. You get that generic shark music in your head, because Ryan Barneveld in the BS Competition Plus machine behind has got his eyes filled with Jonathan Riley. That number 14 Volante Racing machine is now right there. 3 minutes left to go, and it is going to be the longest 3 minutes of Ryan Barneveld's career so far for BS Competition. Third place is not a bad shout on the podium, but he's going to want that second place, because that is oh so sweeter than third place. Meanwhile, Moskowski still half a second behind fourth place of Vasquez Rodriguez. The 199 Volante Racing 2 car is just trying to hold on for dear life right now. They've come out of the first chicane and coming up through the Curva Grande. Meanwhile, your race leader Luke Whitehead is currently checked out. He is got the deck chair out, he's on the beach, and he is already enjoying the sunshine right now. It looks like about 5 seconds up the road from Ryan Barneveld and Jonathan Riley just now. There we go though. So Chris, I mean, he's going to be very, very happy after a shaky start to the race. Luke Whitehead taking over the car there, and he's going to have to watch that he doesn't get any track limit infringements.
He's going to have a hell of a penalty for it to make any difference. Yeah, he's best part of 10 seconds in the lead. Machowski, though, he's again on the charge. Vasquez Rodriguez has got it all to do. Is the Porsche going to try and banzai that on the inside of Ascari? Oh, he's drawing alongside. He's going to commit to it, is he? He's going to compromise the McLaren's line. He's trying to get the McLaren out of the flow, basically, so he can then have another look. No, and they remain where they are. Oh, they're going to have one more lap after this before the checkered flag falls. He's going to be now or never, do or die, feast or famine for Vasquez Rodriguez and Machowski, and also for this battle for Barneveld and Riley. Oh my goodness me, I don't envy either of them right now.
I tell you what, I don't envy our broadcast producer O'Neill right now, because he's got the unenviable task of trying to figure out what we're going to be watching here. But here we go then, Moskowski in the Porsche then is in the slipstream of the McLaren then. We're into the final lap, surely. It's 53 seconds left to go. He goes to the outside. He's got the run. It's going to be late on the brakes. Is he going to put it round the outside? There's no contact. He gets the job done. The Porsche finally gets it done. Moskowski ahead of Vasquez Rodriguez, the 199 199 Volante Racing demoted down into 4th place. Is it going to be bittersweet though? Because is Jonathan Riley going to get ahead of Ryan Barneveld on what looks to be the final lap of the race here? 27 seconds left to go on the clock here, and that McLaren is now closer than ever. He needs to hold it in. He needs to just keep behind at Ascari and get the run down here. But look at this. He's going to try and go around the outside here. The BMW is a big tank of a machine. You're kidding me. The BMW tries to hold it down. There's contact. The McLaren holds it on the inside. The acceleration is done. The BMW gets the exit, but the McLaren is surely going to have the run down the back straight here. Look at the BMW go here. This is absolute balls to the wall stuff here on the GT and Mega Challenger Cup. You couldn't ask for a better start to the championship. It's going to be a race window for Luke Whitehead around the outside though. Tries to go to the McLaren. He's got the pace. He's got the run. The BMW surely has the run. Oh, there's a bit of contact there. That might do it. That might secure it for the BMW. It does. 2nd place for Ryan Barneveld. 3rd place for Jonathan Riley. It's going to be 4th place surely for Krzysztof Moskowski. How'd you like that, Chris? That is one of the most intense finishes I think we've seen. But my God, what a championship if that is something to go by.
Amen to that. Half a car length. That's all it was between Barneveld and Riley. Fair play to Moskowski as well. Did what he needed to do. I thought it was a bit blunt, but he managed to get 4th position out of Vasco Rodriguez. Great defensive work as well from the 199. That was Holleman taking 6th position for the R&E squad. Fisher in 7th for the 200 Butterfly Esports squad. Butterfly Effect Esports squad, I should say. There's our race leader. My goodness me, he's been unchallenged in his stint. Then it's going to be the number 23 Cos Esports car over the line in 8th position. Dvorak will hang on to 9th, with Jorison rounding out the top 10. Oh, David Christie, what a race we have seen.
Oh my goodness me, I had to take a breath there and take a small sip of juice. My goodness me. In fact, actually through that entire race, I think I've went through about a litre of cola just trying to stay hydrated, watching that absolute madness. And do you know what? This is what I love about these drivers is if you get them in any championship, you're always guaranteed a barnstormer of a race there. But Luke Whitehead and the number 75 there of Yassi GTWR, you know, with George Boothby, solid start to the championship. They've done everything they needed to do there. And yeah, that was an amazing race. I get the feeling BS Plus Competition are going to feel a little bit hard done by. They're going to feel what could have been in that second stint of the race there. They certainly did everything right for the first half. Jonathan Riley though, you know, yeah, I just stunned that it came so close, too wide throughout the majority of that final lap there, and I think BS Plus Competition are going to be very, very happy to hold on to that position there, Chris. Again, just waiting for see if we got any drivers to have a chat with, but what's your final thoughts on that race there? Firstly, are you okay, Chris? Because we both had our heart rate going a little bit intensely there.
There were quite a few times when both of us had quite a lot to scream about, but that, let's face it, David, that's what we love as commentators, and we genuinely hope that you all watching along, either live or post-event, have enjoyed it as much as we have. And a big thank you, of course, to those in control of the cameras and the production. What a fantastic show you've put on for us as well. As for my thoughts of the race, I mean, wow, Luke Whitehead, we knew you were quick, but at least give them a chance. Good Lord. But fair play to Yassi. That was just an unbelievably dominant performance. But BS Plus, oh, sorry, that was close. Absolutely amazing, brilliant performance there. And of course, the Jardier, you know, the Jardier community lead Porsche over the line in a track that I really didn't think was going to suit the Porsches. They still came home in 4th. Again, a wonderful, wonderful performance from them. I say all our drivers, save from a few mistakes here and there, they did a stunning job, top to bottom.
Yeah, they certainly did. Let's give you a brief overview of the championship itself then. It's an 8-round championship, obviously kicking off tonight here at Monza. Next week, though, we move over to South Africa. We are off to Kyalami, and I believe it is going to be yourself, Chris, and our very own Yusuf bin Sahil, who will be in the commentary box for that one. Then after that, it is Donington on the 20th of April for round 3. Round 4 is going to be at Spa, good old Belgium for that one. Nürburgring is round 5 on May the 11th. Then Bathurst, Mount Panorama, one of the most iconic GT3 circuits. I'm going to get the feeling we're going to need a couple of bandages and some plasters for that one, Chris. That will be with us on May the 18th for round 6. Then it's the penultimate round, Misano on the 25th of May. And then ending things off, we have got Silverstone for June the 1st. But oh my goodness me, that was a heck of a race, a heck of a start to the championship. And yeah, I am very, very happy with that one.
Is exactly as you said, David. If that is an indication for the championship to come, yes, please. We will have plenty more of that. Yeah, just loved it, beginning to end. Now, we thought it was going to be good, looking at the incredible lineup of drivers and teams that we've got representing in tonight's race. But amazing stuff that we've had from our drivers, and we may well have a joining us in the box.
We certainly do. So we've got 2 to pick from. So we'll leave the best till last, because obviously we've got Angus Fender in here joining us from BS+COMPETITION. Angus, how is your heart rate after that incredible race?
You know what? That was great fun. I really enjoyed that. It's a nice bit of respite from all the work I've been doing on my degree. I have 2 weeks left on my degree at Oxford Brookes, and then I'm free for the rest of my life. So don't really have much time for sim racing, but the little time I do have, this was a great way to spend it.
Is that something you ever thought you would utter, those words of "I don't have any time for sim racing"?
It's not something I thought I'd expect from uni, but it seems like third year has just come up and slapped me in the face with how much extra work there is, which is unbelievable. But yeah, I mean, it's obviously I haven't been doing all that much recently, but any free time I do get, I'll always have a little go on the old sim and see how we go. And that was great fun. Ryan especially did a pretty outstanding job, seeing as he just rocked up fairly late, having not driven ACC for over a year. I mean, he's one of our iRacing pros, so it's a very, very different driving experience. And I think he managed it really well. And bringing home P2 at the end was pretty much as good as we could ask for. So yeah, happy with that.
And just finally, as well, talk us through your stint of the race specifically, because George Boothby in front of you and behind you at some points, having what can only be described as some sort of modification on that McLaren 720S to make it the widest 720S that I think the world has ever seen.
I thought you were going to say modification to make it faster top speed wise, because oh my god, I was in a tow and I couldn't keep up. It was crazy. It was a really good fight with George. I really enjoyed it, honestly. I managed to nip ahead at the start. Not quite sure how it happened, but I mean, I'll take it. But my spotter said clear. His spotter said clear. He moved to the left and just clipped my rear end and nearly put me straight in the wall off the start. But yeah, after that, it was great fun. I mean, George is a quality, clean driver, and I tried to do the same. So when you get these kind of combinations together, you end up with a really good battle, and it was definitely enjoyable. But yeah, obviously I wanted to keep hold of P1 as long as I could, but had to give up in the end.
And just before I do let you go, that final lap with the McLaren behind you, how nervous were you?
Ryan will back me up on this if he had a voice. His voice is given up. He's ill at the moment. But on the last lap, I was just saying to him, "It's all good, man. You're fine. Don't need to defend here. Maybe just cover the middle here. It's all right, though. I mean, he only has one more chance left." Things to that extent. And as the kind of interim crew chief role I settled into, it was my responsibility to kind of say, "Oh no, mate, everything's fine. It's all right. It's all going to be good. Like, we have enough speed." Inside of my heart was going like the clappers, and I was thinking, I really want to keep hold of this P2. Please keep hold of the P2. But yeah, I had trust in Ryan, and he placed his car perfectly. So yeah, P2 is probably the best we could have done, and we went and got it. So yeah, chuff for that.
Brilliant stuff. Well, thanks for joining us, Angus. Congratulations on the P2, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time out at Kyalami.
Yeah, cheers, guys. See you then, and we'll have Gregor along this time instead of Ryan. So hoping to go one better.
Excellent stuff. There you go then. Angus Fender from BS+COMPETITION. Let's bring in then our third place finishers. And Chris, I think I'm going to let you loose on our third place finishers there of I'm trying to think. Actually, I was completely lost there. Grantas, Kariakis there, and Jonathan.
Well, the driver's of the number 14 car. Wow, did you have an incredible battle? I just want to speak to you, Grantas, first of all. Actually, you both had amazing fights, but Grantas, firstly, your fights in that top three were. It looked like you were just kind of holding back. Were you struggling to keep up, or were you just biding your time, waiting for an opportunity to strike?
Well, yeah, like I had a good pace, like to get P1. I mean, like George was fighting with the Fender there, and like I wanted to do like a bit strategically, not fight with George there, and not BMW not to run away. So yeah, just like kind of helped a bit George, and yeah, just yeah, try to keep it safe on the first stint and then push on the second.
Hey, you certainly achieved that. And Jonathan, what on earth happened on the exit of the Lesmo 2?
It was an ignition button. As soon as I exited, I wanted to flash Luke, and I accidentally pressed the ignition button, and the car just died on me. So I had to stop the car and restart the engine.
Even the greats make mistakes, ladies and gentlemen. You've heard it here first. But Jonathan, what a recovery drive! Good lord! Well, I was watching it for a while. I wasn't sort of looking too closely at it because you were I think it was about 8 seconds behind second place when you then got back up to and running again. But then lap after lap after lap, the gap between you and Ryan Barneville was just dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping. And then it was half a car length right at the end.
Yeah. I mean, that was just pure anger, really. I was really angry at myself for pushing that button. So I went, right, I'm just going to try and catch up to the BMW. I think, as you saw at the end of the lap, it was just going to be so close with my pace. So I just tried to get my head down, make no mistakes. And thankfully, I closed up on him, which gave me like 1 or 2 chances. And I tried to make the best of it. And unfortunately, didn't happen.
So it's Kyalami next time around. Is that a good track for your team? Is that one you're looking forward to?
Um, I'm actually not, because it's like I hate this track like so much. I'm so bad around here, and McLaren is so bad around here too. So I don't know how it will go, to be honest.
Well. So it'll be a lights the flag and fastest lap victory for you guys then. We wish you the best of luck, and we very, very much look forward to the season ahead. So thank you very much from Volante Racing. That's Jonathan Ryland and Grantas Caracas.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Awesome stuff. Great to hear from them. Only one other person left to hear from now, and that is the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Yazheat/GTWR, George Boothby. George, welcome in. Congratulations on the race win. Another day at the office for you, really.
Hey, cheers, man. Yeah, I mean, it was a very difficult race, to be fair, because the BMW is like a very, very fast car there. A very, very fast car around Monza. So we're sort of expecting to like start a championship with like a top 3. But I think I did like the best lap I'd done in all of practice and everything in the quali. And so we just managed to get P1. Didn't really matter when the race started though, because the BMW just went bye-bye. So yeah, we stuck behind the BMW. They were having issues, I think, maybe with the tires or something, because they were just, I don't know, just sliding everywhere. So I knew I had the pace. It was just trying to find the opportunity. And with it being quite a long race, you don't want to push really hard for an opportunity, because then that's when mistakes happen, and crashes happen. So just giving it time, and eventually an opportunity appeared, and we managed to get past and build a gap. But we had a lot of issues in the race. So for some reason, my downshift stopped working towards the end of my stint, and that was a little bit of time lost and a bit scary. And then Luke got in the car, and we had about a 3 or 4 second gap, and then his upshift stopped working momentarily. So then suddenly we had P2 right on us, and that really put him off, and they had a great battle. But I think P2 hit the ignition button, so let Luke get away and have some breathing room, and then and then we just cruised it home eventually. But the battles that we had and the emotions mid-race, it was fantastic. Absolutely loved that race.
And obviously a fantastic start to the championship. Moving on to Kyalami, we're hearing that it's not a particularly great track for the McLaren. So how are you feeling about it?
I mean, yeah, it's not that great. There was ways to sort of get around its pace issues previously, but with the new patch and the new physics with the new updates, it's a little bit, yeah. It's not going to be fantastic, but I'm sure we'll try and do something magic with the setup, and maybe we can get another good result. We'll go for try and aim for like as many top threes podiums as possible, and hopefully throughout the championship that'll do as good. So yeah, that'll be our goal. Maybe a podium. See what happens.
Excellent stuff. Well, listen, George, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on board on this opening round of the championship. Best of luck for the remaining rounds, and we'll speak to you more than likely next week.
Oh, thank you, man. I hope so. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care then. So there we go then, Chris. George Boothby then, our race winner from tonight. First of 8 rounds here on the GT Omega Challenger Cup. And what a night we've had. We've obviously got to say a huge thank you to our commercial partners, to Moza and to Simracing.GP as well. But Chris, let's wrap this up. Final thoughts on what's been an amazing championship opener.
Oh, where can I start? What an incredible performance from all of our drivers, in particular, of course, Luke Whitehead and George Boothby. I mean, Luke was just in a league of one, let alone the Yas car being in a league of its own. Luke's performance was as unreal, and the pace he was able to do, especially if he was having trouble changing up. What did he do? Stick it in sixth and stay there? Great stuff nonetheless. But yeah, like I said earlier, this is a precursor to how the season's going to be. Bring it on. Cannot wait to see how the season unfolds. Very, very excited.
Yeah, that makes 2 of us here. As I pointed out earlier, a huge thank you to Moza Racing for making tonight happen. Head over to mozaracing.com and check out their stuff. If you want to get involved in some leagues and some championships, head over to Simracing.GP where they can set up all of your organised racing needs. And as always, this has been a presentation of GT Omega, who provide some superior sim racing cockpits and hardware. And your boy here is speaking from experience, being about 5 feet from one of their cockpits as well. Head over to gtomega.co.uk and check out their full range. Until next week, where we'll have a slightly different commentary lineup for you when we head back to Kyalami. I've been David Christie. This beautiful man beside me has been Chris Buxton. Take care of yourselves. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next time at Kyalami.
Unleash the racer in you and feel the thrill of racing all out on the open road.